Welcome to the Blame It on the Boogie podcast.
Yeah.
We just three better than average brothers, just here to talk a little thing we call sports. As always, we gonna start off with our roll call. Starting at point guard.
What's that name? What's your side?
Just give me that number one school.
Call it
Eastside Senior High.
They don't know nothing about the roll call.
They don't know that. They don't know that. They don't know that.
Me, Dory.
Anyway, we got Antoine D-O-O-Z-E Williams from Florissant, Missouri.
Come on
We
in.
got Dorian D Almighty, the Wonder Mouse Brown from Richmond, California, right now. And of course, we got me, Rod D, from the Detroit, Michigan. But that's where we are, but it ain't where we from. Where we from, fellas?
East Boogie. We from the Boogie.
Boogie.
All day, every day.
East Boogie. We want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to join in. This is episode Deuce.
Oh. Hoover Deuce. Deuce here.
Usher.
And if y'all missed the first 21, you can go on YouTube. You can go on Spotify.
Kiss it.
You can go anywhere you can find podcasts and find us. Just search for Blame It on the Boogie podcast, and you got all of them right at your fingertips. So thank you to everyone for joining in. Like them, subscribe,
Subscribe.
all that stuff that you do with social media. Just keep watching us. Keep watching us.
And tell your friends.
Then it comes to the time where guess what you got to do? Tell us what happened last week, my brother.
And to clean my glasses. That's what I got to do because I can't see. All right. So we talked about Steph Curry just being almost the GOAT at everything. The man with the greatest jumper in NBA history also is great at golf. And I hate him for that because I'm terrible. So we talked about Steph winning the American Century Celebrity Golf Tournament, getting the hole-in-one on the 7th hole. We talked about D-Hop finally settling in with the Tennessee Titans. We talked about Alcaraz beating Djokovic and ending his streak at Wimbledon. We talked about Vondrousova becoming the first unseeded woman to win Wimbledon. We talked about James Harden and how somebody needs to get rid of him and stop keeping him around and trying to get a bag. We talked about current players and having podcasts like ours and whether or not current players should have podcasts and the issues.
Theirs ain't near as good as ours, but keep going.
Oh, no.
We talked about
Shout out to him
athletes, and then that actually led to a discussion about athletes and the idea of branding, with everybody being their own individual brand. We talked about the NFL training camps were about to start. Now they have started. We'll talk about that. We talked about the coming of the Women's World Cup. We'll get into that a little bit as well. And we talked about the WNBA All-Star Game. And so now we'll get into what we're going to talk about this week. And I think I forgot to add that. I'll add that now. The U.S. Women's National Team.
Well, while you typing, so all the things that D talked about, those were in episode 21. So if you want to go back and recap and listen to what we said, just search for us. Go take a listen. Holla at your boys. This week, we're going to start off with the massacre in Vegas. And that's the boxing match between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. If you call it a boxing match.
So it was boxing, but it sure wasn't no match.
Yeah, it was something.
So, dudes, I know you watched it. Tell the people what happened, man.
It went downhill for Brother Spence pretty quick. I saw it. I mean, you saw and I think it was like the first round where they were both filling each other out or whatever. And then I think Spence started going for the kill a little early, and while Crawford was still filling him out, and I think Crawford was a smart guy because when he figured him out, he figured him all the way out, and it was kind of like a torture the whole way. Shout out to Spence because he has that fighter's mentality, and he did. He finished on his feet, which is very important. It says a lot about his character and him as a man as a boxer. But kind of like it was a scene on Life when that boy said, "That's it. He's taking enough of a beating." He took one, but hey, it happens. I think Mike Tyson said, it's always somebody better, but the key is not to be in the ring with that person. And he was in the ring with the right one that night.
Right.
So what I would say is, I give shout outs to all boxers because man, boxing is a brutal sport.
It's kind of hard to make a living with your face.
Exactly. I I remember growing up, little bitty fatty had some boxing gloves. Had them big old huge boxing gloves, man. And we playing around. I'm like, come on, fatty, let's spar. Fatty hit me in the face, man. I took them gloves off so quick. I said,
I think about what remember my brother Bo and Mr. Banks. Mr. Banks called himself, showed us how to box. So he's like, "Come on, Bo." They were going, and Bo hit him on the top of his head. He took the gloves off. He said, "That's all." That's all.
It. That's all she wrote. All she wrote. I can't do it.
We all got boxing stories. I remember we talk about Johans all the time. Shout out to Johans and Johans Flogger Fighting Systems. Taking his class. I remember I sparred with Johans in his garage. And man, I remember I did a move that he taught us in class. It was just a straight left and then go to a hook. And I caught him with it. And he said, "Oh, okay." Man, he hit me like 30 consecutive times in my face. And all he kept saying was, move your head. Man, the next day my nose was so sore. I said, you know what? I ain't doing this ever again. So yeah, but I ended up sparring after that. I got a little bit more confidence, but I'll never forget that, man. So yeah, complete shout out to all the boxers, even the ones that aren't that good. Y'all are better.
Y'all better than me.
I've always been a boxing fan, but I was listening to a Mike Tyson interview, and he was talking about how, back in the day when you see a boxer getting beat down and he's knocked down and he keeps getting up and he's staggering, looking foolish or whatever, and we'd laugh and, be like, "Dude, why don't you just stay down?" But that boxing mentality and that fighter's mentality is so entrenched in them that even, when you don't have all your senses, you're thinking, if I could just get to my feet, I always stand a chance. I can land a blow or whatever. And, even when you're not thinking clearly, that fighter's mentality is inside you. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about it like that.
And I felt, and that was the thing about it too, is I felt bad for Spence. And the reason I felt bad for Spence was because, a lot of people talked about the problem. I heard some guys talking about the fight, and they were talking about how he was saying how this one guy was saying how he went to the fight, but then he had also gone to the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. He said, of course, he was sitting way up in the nosebleeds. He says, but what he noticed is, and this was somebody on the radio talking, and he said that there weren't as many people. He said even with the Pacquiao Mayweather fight, even though Pacquiao was kind of past his prime, that even at the top it was packed. And he said that when he went to the Spence Crawford fight, that even up in the nosebleeds, it was still a sprinkling of people. And he attributed that to the fact that they felt like they didn't need to promote the fight, that they were just like, hey, we boxers, we the best at this or whatever, people gonna come see the fight. And he said that he was kind of criticizing them for that. But I think for me, it wasn't the idea of them promoting the fight. Promotion has gotten to the point when it comes to these fights that it's just about throwing insults and conflict and me giving me a reason to want to come in and really fight.
Kind of like the old WWF.
Yeah. And I thought that for me, it felt good to see two cats have respect for one another and just say, hey, this is what we do. We the best at what we do. I respect you. you respect me. Hey, let's go do this. Like when they showed them at the weigh-in, how he reached out and dapped him up, and they dapped each other up, and was like,
genuine competition.
Yeah, genuine competition. You know, I really enjoyed that, and it made me feel bad for Spence because he was such a respectful dude. You know, he wasn't calling names, he wasn't doing any of that. He was so respectful of Bud Crawford, and Bud Crawford was respectful of him. You never hear Bud really talk that unless someone else does.
And you can tell they really like each other too.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really enjoyed that. And it made me feel bad that he got beat up the way that he did. Because of the fact that he has so much respect. And even afterwards, he was like, hey, I don't know excuses. He was the better man. He beat me at this, he beat me at that. Hey, you know. So I really appreciated that. So I wanted to throw that in or whatever, you know.
So now one of our best friends, Cav. Calvin Jones, shout out Calvin.
Shout out to Calvin Jones.
Calvin gave us the question. Calvin gave us the question. He gave us the question. Is Bud Crawford, is he now on par or better than Mayweather during his prime? So talk to me about that, D.
Okay, this is what I said.
I've been waiting to hear this answer. I told y'all don't say nothing. We've been waiting for this answer.
Although we kind of did a little bit. But for me, hold on, let me close this window real quick. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Can y'all hear that outside?
No, we don't hear nothing.
Okay, cool. It's somebody mowing the lawn or doing something. All right, so anyway. So I'll say yes. And this is why. Even though I love Floyd, don't get me wrong. It's that Bud knocks folks out. And now Floyd used to. When he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was knocking people out, but he had bad hands. He was breaking his hands, and so he stopped doing that. And so it was just all about defense and outpointing people, right? Still, you know, the greatest to ever do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But Bud has that added knockout power. You know, Bud liable to any fight we watched Floyd, we knew Floyd wasn't gonna knock anybody out. He was just gonna beat him up. He was gonna outpoint him. He was gonna keep hitting them, and they wasn't gonna be able to hit Floyd. He, you know, one of the best defensive fighters ever, right? But not only does Bud have the defense, because he's just as good a counterpuncher as Floyd Mayweather. I haven't seen too many great counterpunchers, you know, since Sweet Pea Whitaker, right? May he rest in peace, right? Floyd's an excellent counterpuncher, but Bud not only is a counterpuncher, he got knockout power. But also understand this too. He fought Earl Spence left-handed, southpaw, the entire fight. He's a natural righty, and he fought him southpaw. That goes to show you how good he is. And I say that as have gone to Johansson's class. And when I got good enough fighting right-handed, because when I first tried to go in, I tried to say that I felt more comfortable left-handed, and Yo said no, and he made me change. And I understood why once he made me change. And then as I got better on the mitts, he started letting me go left-handed. It is so difficult to throw a combination right-handed and then to throw that same combination left-handed, because it's a whole different feel. When you slip in punches from somebody, all of that is so different. So the fact that he was able to do that and beat a natural lefty, the way that he beat a natural lefty
at a professional level too.
He got 3 titles as a natural lefty, and you beat him at his own game, southpaw, and whooped him like that. Man, I don't know what else can you say.
So, dudes, here's the question for you. Terrence Crawford is 35 years old right now. He's 40-0 with 31 knockouts. What was Mayweather? 53-0?
50-0. He stopped at 50.
Will Bud break that record, or do you think he has an opportunity to break that record?
Well, he definitely has an opportunity because you know, like Dorian was saying, he's so versatile, and then, you know, we all fall in love. You know, we all love that knockout power because that's just, you know, our thing. But I think he has a chance. But, you know, you never. I mean, who's to say, somebody else won't come up, a dynamite person won't come up out of the blue and, be able to upset him or whatever. But I was looking at an interview with Roy Jones Jr., and he was talking about it. He was talking about how, he loved both fighters, but he said, Spence got upset when he was saying that Crawford was the better fighter. And he was like, I love both of them, but, I've watched Crawford come all the way up. I watched both of them come up. And Crawford is so versatile. Saying the same thing, pretty much the same thing Dorian was saying. He's so versatile. I've seen him fight in every kind of way, and Spence is more just an attacker, but I've seen Crawford, on the defense, attack, southpaw, and so I think he definitely has the opportunity to do that and surpass Floyd. But like you say, with boxing, who's to say it? Like I was talking about earlier, Mike Tyson said that it's always somebody better. The key is not to be in the ring with that person.
Right. See, I don't know. See, I don't know at Bud's age. I don't know if he's gonna get 15 more fights.
Yeah, because he's what, 35 or what? 30?
Yeah, I think he's 30. He's 35 and old.
He's 35. He's 30. No, he's
35 years old.
He's 40 and I thought
he's 40 and old.
He's 40 and old.
No, he's 40 and old and 35 years old.
35 years old. So that's what I said. That age. I mean,
Okay,
somebody else might come along.
Yeah, somebody else might come along, but I don't know if he's gonna want to fight 10 more fights.
That's 5 more years.
At least.
At least that's what doing 2 fights a year.
That's what doing 2 fights a year. And how many of them really do 2 fights a year like that when you the champion?
Yeah.
He's the undisputed champion in 2 weight classes. I don't
know. It would all depend on if Crawford actually wants the record. If he wants the record, then I don't see him. Well, right now, if he wants the record, he continues to do the stuff that he's doing right now, continue to train like he does. I think he can get it done. Because what I
if
don't
he gets
want
close enough, I think he'll go for it. But
what I don't want to see, just as a fan, I don't want to see him do like Mayweather did. Because Mayweather's last 10 fights was just I'm gonna pick somebody. Yeah, I'm gonna pick somebody I know I'm gonna beat. I don't want to see that. Right? That's to me. That's just you just chasing the record just for the sake of chasing the record. I want to see you actually get out there and beat people. Because we watched you for so long do that. That's what we enjoyed. Like I said, with Mayweather, towards the end, there was no.
He fought Pacquiao towards the end of his career.
Yeah, he fought Pacquiao after he retired like 3 times. So now all of a sudden you want to fight Pacquiao? Man, that's not no.
What these guys say on Coming to America? How old was Pacquiao when he fought him? Joe Louis.
135 years old.
Exactly.
Old when they fought.
Exactly. So, but it's a good debate, and if he like I said, if Crawford decides that that's something that if that's his goal, I want to get 51, then I'm along for the ride. I want to see you do it. I want to see you do it. But again, shout out to both fighters because again, they're doing something that I can't do. I can't do. People want to dog out, Spence and laugh and joke about him, but I bet you won't none of them get in the ring.
Ring with him.
None of them get in the ring. So
yeah, I'd be like Martin. I'd be running around the ring, jumping on the ground, grabbing people's legs, trying to bite it.
The question was always, back in the day, if somebody offered you $1 million, would you go one round with Mike Tyson? And I don't know not one brother that ever said, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it."
Would I have to stay in the ring the whole time, or could I run around the arena?
Remember Friday? You want some of this, old man? No.
Not at all. Not at all. No. So again, shout out to them brothers, man. Hell of a fight this weekend or last weekend. Mad respect to all boxers. Another thing that happened this week that also happened a couple weeks ago, ESPN, the worldwide leader, is leading the country in layoffs again. We had more layoffs this week, especially affecting the basketball coverage. Former Knick, one of the greatest to ever play for the Knicks, Mark Jackson.
Action Jackson.
Always had to be with the Knicks.
Bro, I got to put that in there.
I was a Jackson fan back in St. John, so
I don't care about playing for the Pacers and all them other teams. I don't care about all that. He played for the Knicks. But anyway, but he's no longer playing for ESPN. ESPN released Mark Jackson from his contract. So now the the NBA announcing crew is no longer. They kept Mike Breen,
Hmm.
but he's a Hall of Famer. You got to keep him. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. You have to keep him. But the rumor is, it's not official yet. The rumor is they're bringing in Doris Burke and uh, the recently fired Philadelphia 76ers coach, Doc Rivers, as the third person in the booth. So how do y'all feel about that new proposed booth?
It's not the same, man. It's not the same. Mama, there goes that man again. I mean,
Mm-mm-mm.
we gonna miss Mark and he and Jeff Van Gundy, their chemistry was so great, you know. And that's something we'll definitely miss.
Another Nick, great. By the way, I just want y'all to know. But go ahead, dudes.
What was he great at? Holding on to Alonzo Mourner's leg.
Hey, that was the greatest. That was the greatest leg hug ever.
The kneecap bandit. But yeah, they had excellent chemistry, and you know things like that. You know, you like to see those. You know those that a team like that stay together.
Right.
And I just don't understand the direction that ESPN is going in. But I guess they have something going on that we don't know about. But hopefully they'll get picked up somewhere else. You know, maybe TNT or somebody. Who knows? Or maybe Mark Jackson will finally get that Knicks job. Then I'll support the Knicks then, right? But until then, no.
For me, man, and I think also too, I want to preface this by saying I love Doris Burke. I think Doris Burke is great. I can listen to any game, watch any game that Doris Burke is doing. But for me, again, as dudes were saying, it's the chemistry that Jeff Van Gundy, Mike Breen, and Mark Jackson had together. And you're gonna miss that. You're gonna miss Jeff Van Gundy, calling out the NBA, calling out players for flopping, calling out bad calls, saying stuff about the refs, saying funny stuff because Jeff Van Gundy is funny. Mm-hmm. So I think that you'll miss that camaraderie. You could tell that the three of them really enjoyed one another, had real good chemistry. And again, it's not that I don't think Mike Breen won't have good chemistry with Doris Burke and Doc Rivers, but it's going to be different. And it's not going to be the same. And that's what I'll miss. But I love Doris Burke, and Doc Rivers was a good analyst before he went back into coaching. So it's not like there's going to be a drop off in skill. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a drop off in chemistry. That's what I get.
And that's my biggest thing. It's same thing. It's the chemistry part. There's nothing. I like Doc when he was commentating back in the day. He did pretty well. And I'm like you, D. I actually like Doris Burke. However, the way that Mark Jackson and Van Gundy, the way they had them little jabs at each other.
Oh,
and, that made the broadcast interesting. Made it fun.
Mark would always remind him when Jeff started fussing. He remind him, "You used to do the exact same thing."
Exactly. Right. He used to bring it out. You did the same thing. So, but the biggest issue I have is with ESPN, right? The direction that they're going, because they're getting rid of a lot. Well, we know the direction. The direction is we need to cut costs. That's their whole issue. So all of the high end talent, the Jalen Rose, the Keyshawn Johnson, they didn't want to pay them. Max Kellerman, they didn't want to pay them. So now they're bringing in different people that we're getting you at a lower cost. You can still do the same job, but we're gonna get you at a lower cost, right? But then they kind of the hypocrisy comes in when you go out and you give the punter
I know who you're talking about.
what's the boy name? Pat McAfee. You go out and give Pat McAfee $85 million for 5 years. $85 million would have paid everybody that you just got rid of. Mm-hmm. So that's the issue that I have. And again, no knock against Pat McAfee. I like Pat McAfee. He had a great podcast. I don't know how well the things that he did on that podcast is gonna translate to ESPN because now you can't go with all this cussing and all the stuff
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that you did before. You can't do all that, which
Right.
And it
made
seems
people
like
want to watch
they
this
had
stuff.
no consideration of the fans, you know, and the viewers
Exactly.
because these
Exactly.
were our favorites, some of our
Right.
favorites,
Right.
Man,
all of our
KJ,
favorites, really.
every morning I used to watch KJM, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
it's just ESPN radio. You have no idea who's gonna be on there. And again,
Yeah.
no, again, they're good radio people. They're cool, but it's just not the same, you
Right.
know. And I don't want to be that old man get off my lawn dude, but uh, the quality is just not there. Yeah, you're still
Yeah.
giving me sports talk in the morning, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the quality that I used to have.
Yeah, we
And
love what we love, and we prefer what we
exactly,
prefer.
Right.
exactly.
And
So I still listen.
it's almost well, that's the thing too. It's almost as if ESPN was like, it don't matter, y'all gonna listen ananyway.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly,
It doesn't matter
exactly.
who we put out there, y'all gonna watch anyway, because well, they got all the contracts for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So you don't have to or whatever. But that's almost kind of how they put it out there. Well, it won't matter. You all aren't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all gonna
You don't
watch
have a
what we put
choice.
out anyway
Yeah.
because we're the worldwide leader. So we're gonna do this. It won't matter. I
And they
think
got me, bro. They got me because
that's true.
that's all I listen to all day
Right.
long is
Right.
ESPN sports talk or whatever. So yeah, they got me. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Mark Jackson, you know, it was great, and I do hope that you and Van Gundy end up at TNT and give us a new broadcast crew with TNT or NBA
Mm-hmm.
TV. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
He can take his brother's spot.
Hey man, please take it out now. That Stan, ooh, I don't like Stan.
You can't stand Stan.
Can't stand Stan, man. Ooh, I hate with his commentating, man. I don't know how he got the job, but he also had the Pistons job as president, and you see how that turned out. So,
Well,
hey,
Right.
hey, um, Dorian wanted us to talk about this next topic, because he was watching something over the weekend that I missed. So, D, tell me about what this women's professional football.
yeah, we
Yeah.
missed it.
So, and I almost did too. All right. So I was actually in the gym, and I was working out, and I was looking up on TV, and I saw some professional football, like pads, helmets. Well, I shouldn't say professional football, but I saw tackle football. And I was like, I started thinking to myself, well, who's playing now? Because the XFL is over, the USFL is over. I know this isn't, NFL training camp. I said, and colleges haven't started playing yet. I was like, well, wait a minute. Is it high school? And I was like, no, it's not high school either. I was like, well, who is this playing football? So then I noticed, for some reason, I kept noticing that out of the back of everybody's helmet, a whole bunch of people had really, really long hair. And I was like, who is this? And then come to find out, it was the women's professional football, tackle football. It's the Women's Football Alliance. And they said they've been around that there have been a number of women's professional leagues that have been around for a number of years. But this one in particular started in 2009. And so they had their championship. They had an agreement with ESPN to have their championship broadcast. I don't know where any of the other games were because I had never heard of it. But they had a contract with ESPN and all that they did was just that championship game. But it was interesting. Because again, you got pads and all, because I've seen the other stuff like where they have the women's, what is that? The women's bikini league or whatever that is, where they have, on the thong bikinis and, and the shoulder pads. And I'm like, okay, come on, stop making this sexist mockery of football. It's obvious that those women want to play football. Put them in some uniforms, give them pads and jerseys, and have them come out there and play instead of trying to make it a strip show on the gridiron.
Exactly. And how long did you watch it before you shut it off?
Which one?
Keep going. I'm sorry.
The one in the bikini. How long you watched that one, D?
Well, it took about a quarter or two before I was like, you know what, this is awful. And so
this is ludicrous.
Right. So then I stopped watching. But they was out there hitting though. But again, this one was just very interesting. nothing to really dwell on or talk about because I really don't know much about it. But it was just something that I ran across that I thought was pretty interesting that people might want to know about if you decide that you want to check it out. Particularly those that have actually talked about the fact that we do try to make an effort to talk about women's sports. If you've never heard of women's professional football and the Women's Football Alliance, then check out the WFA. Check that out next time you get a chance. Look it up.
Okay.
And staying with the women, we can go to something else that came up and talking about Katie Ledecky. And I spelled her name.
So the question is she the GOAT?
For sure. Hold on, I spelled her name wrong.
We don't worry about spelling on this show. Come on now.
We should.
That's just like hypocrisy.
Right. We should hypocrisy. All right, there we go. Katie Ledecky. Man, well, one, she broke Michael Phelps' record of most individual medals at the World Championships. Although I think someone else, Sarah Solstrom, I think is her name, from somewhere else, has the total record. But anyway, getting back to Katie Ledecky. I like watching swimming during the Summer Olympics because to me, it's akin to watching track and field.
Right.
I have never seen anybody, I don't care what it is, dominate the way Katie Ledecky dominates. It seems like every time she's in a competition, she's breaking a new world record. I don't know how many world records she has, but if you watch it, there's no one that even comes close to her, particularly when you get to the distance races. She's lapping people. And she's just great. So I had to mention Katie Ledecky because she's definitely the greatest women's swimmer of all time. She's definitely the women's GOAT, in my opinion.
I have no argument with that. What's her? The butterfly? What's her?
She does it all. She swims. She does the 50-meter free, the 100-meter free, the 200-meter free.
I thought she did more of the long distance stuff.
She does that too. Those are where her world records are.
Yeah.
But she swims the 50, the 100-meter. This is what she swam in 2015, 2016. So just not even 10 years ago, she was doing the 50-meter free, the 100-meter free, the 200-meter free. That she in the 2016 Olympics, she won. The 400-meter free, the 800-meter free, the 1500, the 200-meter butterfly.
1500 is the one.
Man, in the 1500, she's untouchable. But she also does the 200-meter butterfly, the 200-meter individual medley, the 400-meter individual medley. She swims in everything, and she dominates. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how she does it, but she's the greatest.
When they, everybody want to talk about the GOATs, it's no question in this one. It's far and away she's the greatest.
There's no argument.
You gotta leave it alone. You gotta leave it alone. Ain't no
Aquaman's little sister.
Right.
Ain't no LeBron and Jordan discussion. It's Katie Ledecky. That's it. Katie Ledecky. That's it. She up there with Steph.
Right.
That's the greatest athlete ever.
I just hope she can't play golf too. I'd be real mad if she could play golf.
But shout out to Katie. She's
man, just check this out. If you go to Wikipedia, she was the swimming world swimmer of the year 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2018. She was the American swimmer of the year 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, and 22. Come on, man.
She must have been hurt in 19
for a while.
She must have been hurt in 19.
Right. She must have caught a Charlie horse like Rodney did.
Rodney, you got any swimming stories, Rod?
I got swimming stories. Hey, but check this out, dudes. One of our listeners contacted me and said, "You know what? I need to hear about that tennis match, the greatest tennis match in history." So I'm gonna have to go ahead and record that. So y'all just get ready for it. It's coming. It's coming.
Oh my gosh! Was one of the listeners one of your kids?
So, now to another person that's on pace to being one of the GOATs, we come to Shohei. Shohei Ohtani, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, able to go wherever he wants. He makes the decision where he wants to go. James Harden should have took note of that. But Shohei has been great again this year, leading the league in home runs. I think he has like a 3.2 or 3.4 ERA. He's just been great. You know, a two-way player all the way.
Right.
But the one thing that he doesn't have is playoff success. And the reason he doesn't because the Angels suck. They have sucked ever since he's been there. And it's not for a lack of trying. They keep trying. They keep getting all these high-priced players, but they always get hurt and they never win. This year, they're like one of the best seasons they've had in a long time. They are above 500, but not much, but still in the running for one of the wild card spots. So the Angels had the option of trying to trade him and get something for him, or keep him for the rest of the season, see how the season goes, see if you can make a playoff run, and then try to re-sign him at the end of the season. So they took option B. They decided not to trade him. Shohei is staying. D, was that the best call?
Yes, I said it last time. I said keep him. I said because if you keeping him shows that you're trying to win. If you get rid of Shohei, what are you saying to the rest of the team? To me, and you take your chances. I mean, you try to make it. You got a shot. I mean, it's slim, but you got a shot to make the playoffs.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance, and without him, you have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you take the chance. You try to get to the playoffs. If you can get to the playoffs, you show him that you're trying to win, as well as showing the rest of the team that you're trying to win by keeping him. And then I think you'll be able to re-sign him in free agency if Moreno ain't cheap.
Well, Moreno,
the money.
He spends money. They just don't spend it wisely. They will not go out and get pitchers. I don't know what their reasoning for them and the Cardinals. They don't pay pitchers. Period. But anyway, he won't go out and get pitchers. It was a shock that he actually got Shohei in the first place 4 years ago or 5 years ago now I think it is when they were actually able to sign him. It was incredible that they were actually able to get him. But with that, see, I'm kind of torn with that D, because yeah, you're right. If you trade him, you are giving up on the season.
Mm-hmm.
But you have no guarantees. That's the issue. Shohei did tell them, "Hey, look, I don't want to get traded. I want to finish out the season, try to win, and then see where we go from there." But that's not a guarantee to me. You didn't say I'm gonna re-sign with you at the end of the season. So you're risking getting a compensatory pick for, losing a free agent, which is pretty, that's a sandwich pick between the first and second round. That's not a value for someone like Shohei. I would prefer to trade him and get those assets, not assets that I know are going to be in the majors within the next year or two, that might be able to put me over the top. It's a bad option. You don't want to do that. You would prefer him to be there for the rest of his career. That's what you would prefer, because one again, your team sucks. However, every fifth day they're coming out to see Shohei, and then the other days they're coming out to see him because now he's playing offense. So you're losing money at the box office. So at the end of the day, all things said and done, Moreno has no choice but to get his man $600 million over 10 years at the end of the season. That is what it is. He's gonna have to roll with it, and Mike Trout better figure out a way to stay healthy so they can actually win some games.
But he's only been getting hurt the last few years, though. It's not like Mike Trout has been hurt his whole career. It's the last. Nope. It's been the last few years as he's getting older, right? But
after he got that big fat contract, he's been getting hurt.
tripped over the bag.
Mm-hmm. And again, Mike Trout is a great player. When he plays, he's still one of the best players in baseball. But the problem is, or they said the best ability is availability. He's
Yep.
just not available, and that's putting strain on Shohei because now Shohei is the whole offense. But it's not just Trout. It's the what was the other guy? The third baseman that they gave that big old huge fat contract to. Um, okay, I can't think of his name, but I'm not gonna fuss about it. But he's been hurt ever since they gave him the money also. So it ain't just him. Like I said, Moreno's spending money. It's just not. It's just not working out for him. So, but now he's not. He's gonna be forced to give Shohei this money, and he's gonna have to keep Shohei there. He's gonna have to overpay him.
Rendon.
Uh,
Anthony
yep,
Rendon.
Anthony Rendon. Ever since they signed it, I mean nothing. He got nothing. He's just been hurt. But um, Shohei stayed, but there's a lot of players that didn't. The Mets traded everybody. I don't even know, do they even have a pitching staff now, D?
I don't think so. Once you get rid of the two cats that you signed 2 years ago to the highest contracts, and then you immediately get rid of them, and then they got rid of like 4 other players too. It's like six or 7 players they got rid of altogether.
Hold up, D. They signed Verlander this year.
Hmm.
They signed Verlander this year,
and then sent it right back to where it came from.
To it's like $42 million a year contract for 3 years. And guess what they're doing though? They're paying the contract. The Mets are paying the contract to get rid of Verlander. But that was the only way they got a good player. Otherwise, the Astros weren't going to give them no good players. So the Mets traded Justin Verlander. I'm going to say it now, even though it probably won't happen, but he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But you know how Hall of Fame voting go. That's the favorite argument. They got
America.
Max Scherzer, who should be a Hall of Famer. I don't know about first ballot, but it just depends on how the rest of his career goes.
But that's a whole different story.
Should have been a Cardinal, but Cardinals. But I just said a couple minutes ago, Cardinals don't pay pitchers. So anyway, but you traded Max Scherzer, who should be a Hall of Famer also eventually. And they just got prospects, which is the bad part about just when we're talking about Shohei. That's the bad part about the trades because you're getting prospects. They're not NBA. They're not Major League Baseball players. They're prospects. They're players that may be able to play in the major leagues. So that's the drawback with trading these players. Yeah, you got younger. They got some pitchers, they got some fielders or what have you. So they got younger, and they may actually be, decent players, but you're rolling the dice. The Cardinals did the exact same thing. But
they needed to. The Cardinals suck. That's what you're supposed to do in the Cardinals when you suck.
The Cardinals trade, and that's what I was. They definitely should have traded all the players they traded were free agents at the end of the year. So shout out to them for getting something in return for some players that were probably going to be gone anyway. They weren't going to pay them because again, the Cardinals don't pay pitchers. But they got rid of the one that shocked me was Hicks. I thought they were going to keep Hicks, Jordan Hicks. I thought they were going to try to keep him, but again, they tried to sign him to an extension, and he was like, "Well, no, I'm gonna wait till the offseason and see what other options I have out there." And when you do that, then you have no choice but to trade the player. Again, going back to Shohei, that's my issue with him. You didn't tell me you was gonna come back, or you didn't want to sign an extension. So I'm gonna have to do what's best for me. And
the organization, yeah.
That's what the Mets did. Well, the Mets did theirs different. They traded everybody, but they're still paying most of the contracts. So I really don't know what the Mets did. That their thinking is just different.
The Mets don't know what the Mets did.
I'm confused by that. The Cardinals, I mean, hell, they was losing. It really didn't matter. It really didn't matter.
But you know what though? Out of all of that, you know what? The Reds are in first place.
And you know what? Y'all got probably the Reds have probably one of the uh most watchable players playing baseball right now.
Dela Cruz, Ellie Dela
Man,
Cruz.
Dela Cruz does everything. It was funny the other day. Um, they were trolling him
Oh, in
because
Milwaukee.
they was trolling him because he didn't get a hit or something in the
No,
very next at bat.
he got robbed. He got robbed of a home run. The center fielder robbed him of a home run.
Okay,
And
okay,
so,
okay.
so the next time he came up to bat, they said in his last at bat,
Oh
he
yeah.
almost homered, but he
Mhm.
didn't. And then he smashed one.
Hey, payback is a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Man, to quote
Payback
Ice
is a
T.
mother. But and there's a lot of other trades. The Dodgers improved. The Braves, man, the Braves probably have the best team in baseball right now. They got better. I don't know where they keep getting all these prospects from to go out and get players at the deadline, but it's gonna be difficult beating the Braves. Uh,
I said
I,
that
I
when the season
expected
started. Mhm.
I expected the Yankees to do something. They didn't really. I don't. The Yankees
Well,
always do something. They just didn't do it this year.
that's the thing is everybody expects the Yankees to do something. I think the Yankees felt like that they could still do something with who they had.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they felt that a lot of the problem was the fact that Aaron Judge had got hurt and now he was back. Um, and at a certain point, I think that even Brian Cashman is kind of like, okay, we gotta it's always with the Yankees, always about that making that big splash, that kind of thing. But I think
Mhm.
that has kind of settled down now to real baseball stuff now that George Steinbrenner is no longer there to fire somebody in the minute and then hire them back like he used to do with Billy Martin all the time, right? So at a certain point, I think the Yankees just kind of felt like they needed to stay with who they were, who they had, because I don't necessarily see if we're talking about them getting somebody. I really don't know who they would really add. I don't know. When you think about the Yankees doing something at the trade deadline, you think about them getting Shohei, because that's what everybody's talking about. Oh, the Yankees are going to do Shohei. Or the Yankees, I could even see maybe the Yankees have been one of the ones to get Verlander or to get Scherzer, to make that kind of big splash. But the fact that they didn't, I think says a lot about what the Yankees think about themselves this year.
Do they consider themselves to be contenders?
I don't. I think they consider themselves to be not World Series contenders. I'm saying this not from Yankee fans who are like Dallas
Uh huh.
Cowboys fans who always think they're supposed to win the Super Bowl or win the World
Uh huh. Uh
Series.
huh.
But I think the Yankees themselves are saying to themselves, "Okay, look, we are a wild card team. Let's get to the playoffs, and once you get into the playoffs, who knows what can happen?
Yeah.
Let's
See what happens.
and we get to the wild card, then we can do that. I think they see themselves as that kind of lower level playoff team that can heat up and get dangerous once you get to the playoffs.
So right now the Yankees are 3.5 out of the second wild card spot. So I mean they just gotta get hot. I mean they're 33 and 26 at home and 25 and 26 on. I'm sorry, 23 and 26 on the road. So I mean they're above 500. Uh, they're behind Boston, behind Toronto, and Houston and Tampa Bay. They have the other. They have the other. They actually have the wild card spots. So it's possible. I mean, Boston. They didn't do anything either. So
Yeah,
um, so there's it's possible. And like you said, I think a lot of I agree with you with a lot of the Yankees' issues was the fact that Judge was hurt for a nice portion of the season so far. I don't know. Giancarlo Stanton is another one of those players that got the bag and
man. Now, see, I'd have sold him. I'd have been a seller for Giancarlo Stanton a long time ago. He is
yeah,
truly a famine.
I am so happy. That's one of the things, when the Marlins traded him to the Yankees, the Cardinals was actually trying to trade for him, and he declined the trade. I am so happy he declined that trade because man, bruh, he got that money, and like you said, he is feast on famine. He either gonna smack 60-foot home run, or he gonna strike out 15 times in a row.
Right.
That's all you get. That's all you get. So, but that's the Yankees issue right now, and I'm glad they have that problem and not the Cardinals. Although the Cardinals got plenty of their own problems. So we're not gonna talk about the Cardinals because they suck. Our season been over for like the last 2 months, and the season
Yeah,
started.
because it's nothing to talk about.
Ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about unless you're talking about getting rid of what did our boy call him? Mosleyak.
Mosleyak, right? Get rid of Mosleyak.
Unless you get rid of Mosleyak, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So now to one of the most interesting stories to come out in quite some time. You know, we've been talking about Live and the golf league going against PGA for forever. One of the things that what is it called? PIF.
Piff.
Yeah. One of the things that PIF is doing is they're investing a lot of money into sports. They want people to play sports in Saudi Arabia. Well, the sport that they're going after right now is the sport of major soccer. I'm talking, you know, the big guys. And one of the biggest names in soccer right now is what's his first name?
Kylian Mbappe.
Kylian Mbappe. Who's I think he's like 25 years old. Scores goals left and right. One of the, like I said, one of the greatest to come out in a long time. Well, the Saudis. We go back. Mbappe's contract is up at the end of this season, and he'll be a free agent, be able to go wherever he wants to. Remember that James Harden should have done that. Anyway, he'll be able to do whatever it is, go wherever he wants to, and it's his desire to go to what's the name of the team?
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, one of the biggest names in the world of soccer. But along came an offer that is blowing us away. The Saudi team offered, was it 336 million?
Transfer. The 332
The transfer $332 million transfer fee to Mbappe's current team. And then Duran, tell them how much they offered Mbappe to come play one season of soccer.
$776 million.
Oh,
million.
$million. And he turned it down.
700. Y'all heard that? $776 million.
$million.
How, Sway? How?
And he turned it down.
How?
Dudes, who turned it down that bag? Who turned it down?
Look at here.
I got one good leg. I could kick with that one.
Look, man, I'll be out there in a wheelchair pushing the ball down with my toes if I have to. For $776 million. And he turned it down. Now, don't get me wrong, he's gonna get a nice contract with whoever he goes to next year. But it will not be $776 million.
It won't be that
1 year. Not
this
1
year.
1 year. $776 million.
Yeah, I can go ahead and give him this year. I can give him this year.
It was this year. They would have trade for him now, pay the transfer fee. He comes over this year. He still has that contract. So this year they're gonna pay him $776 million. And he'll still be a free agent next year. But he turned it down.
But think about this. Guess what they don't have in Saudi Arabia?
What don't they have?
Taxes.
No tax.
That's $706 million in your pocket. In your pocket, Bilbo. Your pocket. Come on, man.
So
Yeah, I mean, I
look,
was over there, but I didn't get paid that much for it.
again, I understand the hesitation a lot of people have based on the information that we've been given as to the atrocities that they're doing as a country. I understand that, but
Hypocrisy.
Mhm.
bruh, $776 million.
Mm.
Look,
Now, this is the thing, but
I might be a hypocrite.
this is the thing too with that. But see, this is the thing about the politics.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
That political viewpoint is an American political viewpoint. He's
Mhm.
not from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So those same political considerations might not be the same over in France or wherever it is that he's from. And I say that having been overseas and watched the news in other places where they have a different viewpoint on certain things. So I don't necessarily know how, because nothing that I read, because when I kept looking to read something about why he turned down $776 million, I could not find anything that said anything about politics. It was just that because he wants to play with Real Madrid. Now, unless Real Madrid is about to give him a couple of $1 billion over a particular period, I don't know how you turn that down just to say that you want to play with this team that you could end up playing for. You can still play for him next year and have $776 million in your pocket, and then go get that other $700 million over 3 or 4 years, or however much they're gonna give you at Real Madrid. But you would have $776 million in your pocket from 1 year. I hope it's the politics. I didn't find anything that said anything about the politics, but let's hope that that's the reason, and it's not just because you just wanted to go play with this other team, because they're not going to give you that kind of money, not for 1 year.
And at the end of the day, I don't care how much they give you, you still gonna be $776 million short in your bank account. You ain't gonna never get that money back. It just won't happen. Now, again, he could listen. He might be one of those people that say, "Hey, look, I'm a millionaire already. $776 million. That's too much money for me for one person to have." That might be his mentality. However,
that's too much money for me. Nah.
I'm like Luther Vandross. Never too much. Never too much.
Never too much.
So, I can't, bro. Listen.
It sounds like he was drowning.
707. Look here. The Mega Million right now is 1.25 billion, of which you get is like $600 million as a cash option, and you got everybody and their mama trying to buy a ticket just to get that, right? This man has been given the opportunity to have $776 million in his bank, and for whatever reason, he turned it down. Now, again, that's his own personal decision.
Let me show people. Let me put this in there. Let me show people what that is.
How many zeros?
Put that in the banner. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me stop it from scrolling just so I can just put it up there.
Yeah.
Hold on. So y'all can just see the zeros.
Dion, what are you doing? But it's all good.
There it is.
There we go.
There you go.
That's what I want to do. Look at that. If somebody offered you that, now understand, this is the difference between the lottery winning the Mega Millions and this. We are all playing for the chance to win $1 billion. We have a 1 in 64 million shot of winning $1 billion. He was guaranteed $776 million.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, we have to come up with all these numbers in order to win that the lottery. He just has to come up with 3 letters. YES.
I don't get it.
Even I can do that math.
Again, that's his choice. It just ain't a choice that I would go that I would go. That ain't the direction I would go, bro. I'm sorry. Hey, look. Look. Do you understand how many lives you can change with $776 million?
Like mine. Change my life.
You talking generational wealth for your family and $776
Million other
million
people.
other things. So listen, man, bruh, bruh. Can I get the number of the fifth? I'm like, dudes, man. Hey, I can get you one good kick.
Yeah.
Hey, like Giannis said, I look like Kylian Mbappe. Sign
Hey,
me.
hey, I
Sign
go
me.
get some. Let me go get some platform shoes.
Right. You know, they
But
think
here,
we all look like anyway.
now
I'll be Kylian
listen.
Mbappe.
Now we gonna add some stuff on that we ain't talking about, D. We mentioned it, but we didn't talk about it. Uh, one of the things that I read is that the NBA is also a little bit nervous about
I heard that.
the Pits, and the fact that they have all of this money out there. Because you when this thing came out, you had players like LeBron James putting his hand up, saying, "Hey, holla at me." You had players like Draymond Green coming out
Pick me,
saying,
I'll go.
"Hey, the ink ain't dry on my contract."
Right.
So um, they do play basketball in Saudi, right? But they don't have the same kind of emphasis on basketball as they do other sports. But if they decide that they want to put an emphasis on basketball and offer a LeBron James $500 million to come over and play, or since LeBron's at the end of his career, of course LeBron's gonna do that. Well, what about Victor Wembanyama, who just got drafted number one, the quote unquote greatest player to ever be drafted? If they offered him $500 million to come play basketball,
What did NSYNC say? Bye, 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 bye. I ain't from the United States anyway. I'm from France.
Hey, it was an old gospel song that the lyrics used to say, "I'll go even if I have to go by myself."
by myself,
By myself.
by myself.
By
But that's,
myself.
I mean, we laughing about that. But what if it does actually happen? If they decide, hey, listen, we want to be just like they did the PGA, we want to be part of this. NBA, make us a part. But if you don't, we gonna establish our own league, and we gonna bring it because NBA, as much money as the NBA has,
Mhm.
as much money as they generate,
They don't have that Saudi money.
they don't have that Saudi money, man, bruh. You would have all of the college players that have dreamt about being in the NBA all their lives saying, you know what? Hey, deuces,
They be leaving college.
deuces,
Deuce here.
deuces, man.
Mhm.
I'm out. If they pay you, because then the Victor Wembanyama, the most he can make is like $12 million a year on his rookie contract. If they paying $50 million for the next great thing coming out of college, you think they're gonna go to the NBA?
Hmm.
No.
No. And that's what the NBA is afraid of. They're afraid that the Saudis are going to put money in basketball, and they're going to have the same issue as the PGA.
But see, this is where I push back on that.
Okay,
Because I think that
we can take Mbappe down.
I think that the Saudi league would kind of end up being like Major League Soccer. Because the European leagues already have built up that monopoly on stuff. Again, kind of like why Kylian Mbappe don't want to play for the Saudis, but he wants to play for Real Madrid.
Mhm.
They already have that history, and they have dominated for so long that you notice that when the United States started, really thinking about playing soccer, as we call it, we don't even call it football, right?
Mhm.
Playing soccer. Well, all of those players that had previously been good over there, they came over here to lend credibility to Major League Soccer. Pele did it. Beckham did it with the LA Galaxy. Now we see Messi doing it. We saw my man Thierry Henry from the French national team, who was before, who was the man before Kylian Mbappe on the French national team. They all come over here and they get a bag. They give them, they give them a big bag, and they give them ownership, because that's what Beckham wanted. That's what Messi wanted. Why he came to Inter Miami.
Mhm.
So I don't think that early on, even though they have the money, the Saudi league doesn't have the kind of infrastructure and advertising and the prestige that the NBA has. So I think that early on, the only players that they would get would be the players who are at the end of their career that still kind of have a name that people still kind of remember to come over there and play and to get people to watch. Victor Wembanyama, he's kind of an anomaly or whatever because they're the big names that are rookies. But I think that, or the new players, but I think that in order for them to get credibility, they would have to get the Draymond Greens. They would have to get the LeBron Jameses, those at the end of their careers that people know to get people to watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
People to watch, Wembanyama because he's the new face. People will want to see him. But as far as those other college players and stuff are concerned, we were just talking about the other day, with the draft, how we didn't know any of those players. So if we don't know them, they don't know them over in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
So they have to get those big name players first to get people to watch. And then they can start doing the other thing. Golf is a little bit different. But I think for the NBA and basketball, I think it would take much more than just the money early on to get players to go over there. People still want to play in the NBA because all the games are televised. People still know who they are. You can get endorsements.
Their all-time favorite players played there.
Yeah, I think it would take a minute. It would take a little bit longer for them to start going over to the Saudi League. It would take more than just the money immediately. I'm talking about it would take them a much longer time. So I can see the NBA being worried about it, but I don't think they need to worry about that just yet. It would take much more. They're gonna have to wait for a LeBron James to go over there or somebody like that to go over there.
But this is the thing. Yeah, they don't have to worry that they don't have to concern themselves with it right now. However, they need to get proactive and think about it.
Yes, I agree.
The biggest issue that they have, and it's what allows the NBA to thrive like they do, is they had their rookie salary cap. Right. That was one of the best things they did because it's difficult to pay. For instance, when what's my man that came from Purdue, Robinson,
Big
Dog. When he came from Purdue, and before he played a basketball game in the NBA, he was the highest paid player in the league. Right. That was an issue that the older veteran players that was something they had an issue with. So that's why he came with the rookie salary cap, which works great. However, if Saudi doesn't have a salary cap, if the Saudis are able, and the NBA knows that they can, even with their current salary cap, they can get the players that are free agents next year. If Anthony Davis wants to be the first player to go over there and make $500 million a year, they can go get Anthony Davis. He's a free agent. LeBron James, his contract's up. You can go get LeBron. Yeah, he's a name. And like you said, D, will bring that credibility. So the Saudis don't care. They don't care about the money part. Right. And they don't care about the time. They'll throw all the money they can at all of these veteran players and the new players coming in just to establish their league. And that's the part that the NBA needs to be worried about. They're not doing it right now, but you need to put some kind of mechanism in place to if they ever get the desire to do this stuff, that you're ready. You can say, hey, look, LeBron, instead of going over there and playing a year against some people that you don't know, that are players that don't nobody know, or not even being on TV, listen, why don't we give you an opportunity to, get ownership in this team, stay here and stay with us. So those are some of the things they got to start thinking about. Like I said, they got to be proactive with this thing, because if they wait and do nothing and not worry about it, they're gonna be just like the PGA. And they can come over, and buy the whole freaking NBA, every team in the league, and just take over. They can do it. They got
the money.
$700 billion just sitting there, waiting to do whatever they want to do with it. Come on. NBA can't do nothing with that.
No.
NBA makes $6 billion a year, which is a hell of a lot of money, but it ain't 700. Mbappe. So listen. But I just threw it in there because we talked about it, and it kind of went with that little whole list section right there, so I throw that in there. Anyway,
must be the money.
It's the money, man. It's the money. It's the money, which is kind of sad because that brings us, bad segue, to the Northwestern players. Northwestern, for all of you that have been watching us, we talked about this. Northwestern has had this scandal going on in football and in baseball and in some other sports with hazing done to their players. And there's more players that are come out and they filed lawsuits against the university president, against the former athletic director and the current athletic director. Um, so they're going after everybody in these lawsuits. Dorian, we were discussing this. Tell me your thoughts on this new the information coming out about Northwestern.
Well, you've got what, 9 players now?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this has very wide-ranging implications, because let's not be naive to think that the only place that this is happening was at Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there are going to be more hundreds of lawsuits that are going to start coming out at a bunch of different schools and a bunch of different universities. Remember some years ago, what's my man? That was the running back, Craig James, when his son had the issue
Mm-hmm.
at school where they said they put him in the hot box or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Oh yeah.
well, again, let's not be naive to think that this stuff is only happening at Northwestern or is only isolated at Northwestern. So it's going to be a number of different schools where we're going to start seeing this come out. This to me is just opening the floodgates for a number of lawsuits that we're going to see at a whole bunch of these other major universities.
So, and this is my issue with this whole thing. And again, like we were discussing before we started recording, it's going to sound like victim shaming in the case that in the fact that I have issues with these players that wait 6, 7, 10 years to then decide, hey, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna claim these different claims. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying that you weren't violated. I'm not saying anything like that. But I just have an issue with people not coming out when these things happen. We're talking about like in the case of Bill Cosby, you wait 25 years after the fact and then say, hey, look, this happened. Well, how can I defend myself for something that happened 25 years ago? Now it's just my word against your word, and that's the same issue I have with this. Now it's the university saying it didn't happen. The players are saying it did happen, but the time that elapsed since all of this stuff happens makes it to where now it's just a he say she say thing because there's really no well, we don't know any physical evidence that these things actually occurred. I'm not saying it didn't occur. What I'm saying is I just have a problem with the amount of time it took for these players to come out and say this stuff happened. Especially the fact that they're, a lot of people pointing to say, oh, they're that to laud them and say, they're so courageous. Well, you weren't courageous 8 years ago when it happened. Had you been courageous 8 years when you happened, maybe the stuff that happened after you wouldn't have happened. So that's the issue I have. And again, it sounds like victim shaming, which I'm not trying to do by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just concerned about the time that it took for these different players to come out. And that's just me.
Yeah, and like we spoke about earlier, I certainly, I look at it in the other way that, some of these people, they're not like we are, because all three of us, we kind of bold with it. So if we're being violated or somebody stepping on our toes, we're gonna let you know right there on the spot. But some of these people, they might have fear of some type of retribution or about coming forth, and or they just might not be as courageous. And so it might have taken, for somebody else who might be more prominent, within the system or that has more pull to come out first, for them to feel emboldened to come out, following that. But I certainly understand what you mean, what you're saying about them, let so much time elapse because, in that time frame, it could be other victims that you could have prevent it, from going through the same
Exactly.
ordeal.
No, yeah, I'm with y'all on that. I understand the whole thing about the time, and it starts to make you be skeptical about it. But I look at it in terms of, I think about the nature of football, right? And how macho football is, and about how it's such a physical sport, and it's about, when you said earlier about, the best ability is availability, right? So you got players that play hurt, and so on and so forth. So just think about how it would be for them coming forward, and somebody said, "Oh, well, all we did was smack you with a towel," but but you mad, and now you want to sue for hundreds of millions of dollars when you play this sport that's a violent sport, So I think it's the machismo that comes along with that, this idea that, well, if I say something, well, could this hamper my playing time while I'm here? If it, again, looking at Northwestern, when they talk about how this thing was such a tradition that even went back to when Pat Fitzgerald played, right? And they said that this is this long-standing tradition. So now, do you want to be the player to come in there and break the tradition? Do you want to be the person to, I think that that's a lot of what's going through a lot of their minds. They feel like if they don't do this, then they won't be able to play, because the captain is going to come back and tell so-and-so, or tell a coach, or whatever not. And that also makes me wonder, even though I think Pat Fitzgerald himself may have been far removed from that, it makes me wonder what coaches knew about this. About what was going on. And again, it might have been players who, coach so-and-so was there when such and such happened. Coach so-and-so was there when such and such when this happened. So if I didn't get up and be, quote, a man about it, if I cried about it or whatever, then I'm labeled soft, and then I may not be able to play. I think that a lot of that goes into it. So once they have removed themselves from the situation and not have to worry about playing time, not necessarily have to worry about the ridicule that they would have gotten, because hazing is as much mental as it is physical. So that they wouldn't have to endure the ridicule and the humiliation that comes along with basically saying, I couldn't take it, because that's what other players are going to say. Oh, well, you just saying that because you couldn't take it. I think that that's something that kept a lot of them from speaking out much earlier on, particularly while they were players. I think it's a lot easier once you get removed from the situation to now come back and say, yes, these kinds of things happen to me. But no, I agree with you. It always makes you wonder, it takes people so long to come forward. But I think that's some of the issues that may be involved here. Because they felt like they had to.
And again, I understand that part. I understand that part. At the particular time, you feel as though you have no other options. You just got to grin and bear it, as they say. But again, you grinning and bear. If you know this is wrong, first off, if you know what is being done is wrong, right? Somebody has to say something when it's going on. Again, for you to wait 7-8 years, and I can't think the name of the quarterback that was there. That's like the lead person now in these lawsuits. But for you to wait, 6-7 years after the fact, and don't come out until somebody was brave enough that was a current player to go report this stuff. After then you're gonna come in, and now you want to be the head person. You want to be the person out in front, pushing this stuff. I have an issue with that. Because if you knew it was wrong, you should have been out there back then doing that stuff.
But see, this is the thing though, is you begin to question how wrong it is, because other people did it. There were so many other people prior to you that went through it, and you saying to yourself, and people are telling you, well, everybody else did it. Everybody else. So even though you may necessarily not feel right about this within yourself, but you look around and everybody else that is around, you say to yourself, well, they all went through it. It can't be that bad.
And it seems like they have no problem with it.
Right. They don't have any problem with it. No one else had any problem with it. And then again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, quote unquote, I don't know, but none of the coaches seem to have a problem with it. So maybe in order for me to be able to play, maybe this is what I have to do. And at the time, you go along to get along, right? Again, because you want to play, you start to question, well, is this really wrong? Everybody else is doing it. You know, that kind of thing. Am I the only one that feels this way? So we don't know if also at the same time, if they all got together, if any of them got together and talked about this to say, well, hey man, did this happen to you? Did this happen to you? Well, this wrong. Well, now all of a sudden, when that one person comes out, you say to yourself, okay, well, it was somebody else that thought that this was wrong too. Well, now I can go ahead and speak up about this. So I think that that's a lot of it too. You've seen, especially again, talking about Northwestern, right? If this is something that has been going on for 20 years or however it is that's been going along, well, when you get to Northwestern, you figure, well, this is just what I have to do. This is, you know, that kind of
part
thing.
of
So,
it. Yeah.
You know, it's part of being here. It's part of it's, you know, they're going to pitch that as this is how you become part of the team. You know, how can you get any respect on the field as a teammate if you don't do what the other teammates have done, what your teammates before you have done? You know, how do you become part of the team? How do you feel like you're part of the team? Because football, just as we talked about, you know, Mike Breen and Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, is all about chemistry as well, right? So if you're feeling like the outsider, if people are making you feel like the outsider because you're not involved and because you don't want to be involved, but you want to be on the inside, you want to be one of those guys, you want to play, I think that's a big part of it too.
So I guess most of my frustration is with the former quarterback. And you said it, D, you know, while he's there, you know, you don't say anything because it might affect your playing time. That's a selfish thing on his part because he's more concerned about his playing time than putting light on a situation that he knows is wrong. If you felt that strong about it, again, you should have said something at that time. But no, you waited until you finish your career and then even waited some more time. And then when all this stuff comes out, now you want to be the quote unquote face of this whole thing, coming out saying how violated that you were, how violent you felt, and now you want to sue them for, you know, large sums of money. That's the part that I have the biggest problem with, right?
It feels like money grab.
Exactly. Again, you know, what the stuff that they was doing was absolutely idiotic, right? It was just stupid, you know. And I can't imagine a locker room that even allowed that stuff. I mean, these are a bunch of men, man. Everybody can, you know, having you walk, you know, penis shower, you know, the car wash as they call it. That's just stupid, right? That's just stupid. But even if it did happen, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, I'm you know, they're saying that it happened. So if it did happen, and you saw this happening, you didn't say anything because you were selfish because you wanted the playing time. That's the issue I have. And now all of a sudden, you know, you the big bad man, you know, this is just horrible. I'm gonna put my face out here and I'm gonna do this, that, and the other, and pay me. You know, pay me. And that's all he's doing. And again, that's I think is the one I have the biggest issue with. Now the current players that go through this, you know, mad respect for them because they were the ones that came out and brought the stuff out into the open, brought it to light. The previous players that didn't say anything, but now all of a sudden you want to be involved so you can get money, those are the ones I got the problem with. So that's what enough about Northwestern. I don't want to talk about them. I hope this is the last time we have to talk about Northwestern.
It might be the last time we talk about Northwestern, but mark my words, it's not going to be the last time that we talk about this in college sports.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Speaking of college sports, great segue, D. We get much better with our podcast, y'all. Speaking of college sports, so this week, Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes made the decision to move from the is it Pac-10 or Pac-12? What are they now?
I don't know. They're the Pac-8
the Pac-12.
But yeah, they're the Pac-12.
They're the Pac-12, yeah. And now they're going to the Big 12.
But Coach Prime did not make that decision.
No,
That was the Board of Regents or whoever
made by the Board of Regents.
That had nothing to do with Coach Prime. Let's get that out there. But they are Coach Prime and the Buffaloes are leaving and going to the Big 12.
Yeah, they're leaving, going to the Big 12. But that's just the first domino to fall.
But you know, the funny thing about that is, hold on, just to keep.
Go ahead.
Are they really going, or are they just going back? Remember, they were in the Big
They're going
8.
back. They're going back.
This is where they started. Remember, they were in the Big 8 with Missouri and Nebraska and Oklahoma and all that. We grew up watching the Colorado Buffaloes play Missouri.
The team of Mizzou with the fifth down.
Right, and Nebraska. We grew up watching them, and then they moved to the Pac-12. So now basically they're just coming back home.
And the reason they're coming back home is because the Pac-12 is just in crisis mode. They have a horrible TV contract. They've been trying to negotiate a new TV contract, but the problem is their conference teams are leaving, so they're not getting the type of TV contracts that they want. Colorado went to the Big 12, like D said, for the money. Went to the Big 12 for the money. But again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Pac-12, I said, is in disarray. They're in crisis mode because now Arizona and Arizona State had their boards of regents had a meeting on Tuesday, and they made a pact that they're gonna go together wherever they decide to go. Either they're gonna stay in the Pac-12 or they're leaving. Go ahead, D.
No, I thought that's the state legislature because don't they have the college in where most colleges have individual board of regents? Mm-hmm. Isn't Arizona one of those states where the state legislatures or Arizona State have the same board of regents? It's something like that.
Well, whoever it was, they made the decision that they're gonna stick together, be it in the Pac-12, the Big 12, or whatever conference they decide to play in. They're gonna stick together. But at the end of the day, they decided they're gonna do what's best for the Arizona schools. And that means they're gonna go to whoever has the best financial package. And again, right now, doesn't look like it's gonna be the Pac-12. So Pac-12 was concerned about that. Today, Florida State, their board of regents met.
Outside of Illinois and Ohio State, my favorite team, FSU. I'm a similar fan.
Florida State met. Their board of regents met. They are going through the ACC, their ACC contract. ACC has like I think it was a $30 million buyout. Excuse me, but it was they have a rights. It was a rights clause. So they're going through the contract of the rights clause because I think the ACC has the rights to Florida State for however many years. They're trying to figure out a way for them to get out of that. And if they do, Florida State might be looking to change conferences because again, they want the money. Also today, the one with the most money, that would be the Big Ten that has 14 schools. Their commissioner made the comment that conference expansion is inevitable, and they're also in the process of looking at other teams that they might invite to join the Big Ten. Matter of fact, they're talking about it right now on ESPN.
Hopefully Stanford. I'd love for the Big Ten to get Stanford.
So right now, as much as everybody want to fuss about NIL, this, that, and the other, where's the frustration with conferences trying to get more money? You mad about the players getting money? Where's the frustration with all these teams changing conferences to get more money? You got again they fuss about the players going to different schools so they can get $100,000 or whatever. But now these teams are leaving conferences so they can go get 80 and 90 and $100 million. Where's the frustration?
They're gonna say, oh, that's different.
Right, of course.
Yeah, that's different.
Right, of course. The rich getting richer. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word.
A short guy.
But
Yeah, he's short.
I know you ain't talking.
I'm taller than you.
No, you ain't. No, you ain't. No, you are.
I'm
No,
taller
you
than
are
you.
not.
Keep going, G.
Okay, I'm
Say
gonna
your point.
We got to
Say your
get to
point.
we got to get together and have a
have a height
live
off.
measurement.
Right. Have a height off.
Like
But
a weigh in, a boxing weigh in, but
right. But measure height. Right.
yeah, y'all won't have no draws on either though, but y'all have like some
Oh no,
jeans.
my draw's gonna be on. My draw's gonna be on.
Yeah,
Go ahead, D.
have some jeans on.
We ain't gonna have no car washes going on over here. Come on, go ahead, D.
You know, made me forget what
Tidy
I was about to
whities.
say. Dudes totally made me forget what I was about to say about realignment. I really did. It honestly just completely flew out of my head.
That's because we all old, man. That's because we all old.
I totally forgot what I was about to say. I don't know. We might have to come back.
Yeah, you had to edit that out. I wish I could edit that vision out of my mind too.
Yeah, you don't want to throw it out there, man.
But okay, I got
didn't
it.
say
I
it
remember.
right. That's
Remember now. I don't like the fact that they're breaking up all of these traditional rivalries. I'm a traditionalist. That's the word I'm looking for. You know, that now you've gotten to the fact that you're not going to have Oklahoma, Texas anymore. You're not going to have, well, no, you can still have Oklahoma, Texas. You're not going to have the Oklahoma State, right? You're not going to have that anymore. Of course, that's probably part of the reason why Arizona said that they weren't going to move without Arizona State is because of that traditional rivalry. And just think of now who's going to be left in the Pac-12. And I think that's the problem essentially with the Pac-12 getting a TV contract. So the only thing that they had on the table was from Apple TV. And Apple TV was only offering it in tiers depending upon how many subscribers that the schools actually got. And that was supposed to dictate the money. Of course, now who has Apple TV? That would mean that they wouldn't be on, you wouldn't see them nationally televised. You would only be able to see it if you were an Apple TV subscriber. But this is the thing about this too, and this is something that I've learned living out here on the West Coast, is that it is very difficult to keep up with West Coast football. If you live on the East Coast, if you live in the Midwest, once you cross the Mississippi River, it's hard to keep up with sports out here because I miss so many sporting events because things come on so much earlier here. You know, in order to watch College Game Day, I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch College Game Day. And then by the time you get to the West Coast games, when they come on, well, the people in the East Coast are asleep. So the only people that you have watching the Pac-12 are people who actually live out in those Pac-12 areas. And I think that that's the thing that Colorado figured out, is that nobody's watching us but the people on the West Coast. If we get back in the Big 12, well, we're going to get back in that Central and Eastern time zone. And more people are going to be watching our games. Same thing with UCLA and USC. Even though they have that traditional rivalry, even though they have that football tradition, the only people who were really watching those games were the people out on the West Coast because of that time difference. And I think that that's the thing that's really hurting the Pac-10, the Pac-12. Well, they might be the Pac-10, they might be the Pac-2 in a minute. I think that that's what's really hurting their ability to get television contracts is that time zone.
So the Big Ten, you talk about the Pac-2. The Big Ten is looking at Washington, at Oregon, at Stanford.
Yes, Stanford. Academically, we need Stanford.
So those are the type of teams that they're looking for. Only thing about Oregon, you would love to get Oregon because Oregon has ties with Nike, and they're gonna always have money. And Washington is just always good. You know, one way or another, Washington gonna be good. The only thing about Oregon is that Oregon has that relationship with Oregon State.
They've been playing for 100 years.
So I don't know if they're gonna break them up. They may make the same kind of pact that Arizona State did. So that's gonna be a little difficult. But the Pac-12 or whatever they are, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever they are, they're definitely in trouble. And the thing that you just brought out about that's just so funny to me, man. That the only offer that they're getting is from Apple TV, and folks buy Hulu, folks buy Netflix, folks get Amazon. It ain't a whole lot of people getting Apple TV.
Yeah, I got it so I
It's
can
just
watch
not.
Hijack with Idris Elba, but you know.
But that's it.
We got it because it was free with the iPhone when Casey got it, but they stopped that, so now I don't have it.
Oh yeah, and then they had the Magic Johnson documentary. That's when I first got
So,
it.
so, but yeah, they're in trouble, man. They're in trouble. But in the next, what's going to happen? I mentioned this earlier, off the air. But what's going to happen is within the next 5 years, with all of these conferences, getting all these different teams and putting them in their conference, the NCAA is not going to be what it is right now.
They're not gonna
So
have the leverage.
they're not have any leverage. So they're gonna have. They're talking about the issue with Jim Harbaugh not wanting to cooperate. You gonna have that with everybody. Why am I gonna cooperate with you? What you gonna do? You can't do nothing. You don't
Right.
control anything. You don't own
Yeah.
anything. You don't even own the basketball tournament. That's not even yours.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, they're gonna be they're gonna have issues. Speaking of issues in in college football,
Hmm.
there's a gambling crisis that's going on in Iowa and Iowa State, and this is different than the ones that we've been talking about, like in the NFL, where you had players that were, betting on their own sport. These kids, well, allegedly, let me put that out there,
Allegedly.
allegedly, were actually betting on their own team,
Oh no.
which in Iowa is a felony. So,
And the quarterback was underage. His mom and dad were he was they were the ones that were making sure because in order to be able to bet in Iowa, you have to be 21.
mhm.
So,
And
oh
he was
yeah.
doing it as a freshman and as a sophomore under now. I don't know if he was falsely using his parents' information, but some kind of way his parents are involved in this as well.
Ooh,
Mm.
ooh. Well, whatever the case, the
Decker.
quarterback for Iowa State, what's his name? Decker? I got it.
Uh, yeah,
I think it was Decker.
Decker. Hunter Decker. Hunter
Hunter
Deckers.
Decker.
Mm-hmm.
He's in some trouble because they got the Iowa police are investigating them. The feds are investigating them. Anytime you bet on your own team, there's a real good chance you can be point
Fixing the
shaving.
game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
fixing game, and that's when you talking that, man. Hey, folks don't play. Folks don't play because it's not fair to the other gamblers that actually
Mm-hmm.
bet on this thing. You got
Right.
this inside information. You know,
Got
what's
somewhat control of
who would
the.
know if you just happen to overthrow one player? If I need the over under on completed passes is 25, and we got this drive going, and I'm gonna overthrow my player so I can keep 24 and get the under.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what can happen?
Right.
He may not have done anything wrong as far as the game is concerned, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you bet on your own team, and
Yeah.
please don't let it come out that he bet on them to lose.
Mm.
You
So
know,
here from this is from the New York Post. It says Hunter Deckers didn't act alone in his alleged gambling scheme. The Iowa State quarterback, who was facing criminal charges after he was accused Tuesday of betting on Cyclone sports teams, allegedly used his parents as a third party to conceal his online gambling identity.
Mm-hmm.
The scheme allegedly made it appear as if Scott and Jamie Deckers were placing the online bets instead of their son.
mm, and the thing is,
Dirty.
just like with the NFL, they know where the bets were made, right? What's the parent's name?
I just got rid of it. Hold on.
Scott and Jamie.
Scott and Jamie Deckers.
Okay, so they know that Scott and Jamie were not at the practice facility
Mhm.
on those particular days. They know that. So who else could it be? It got to be the Suns.
Right.
So and that's the part that these folks that they just refuse to understand that
Mhm.
these phones here, these are the death to us all. It tells everybody where you are, your exact location. You always have them with you.
Mhm.
They talk about big brother. This phone is your big brother, man. It's your big brother. It gives everybody all your information. And for these players, it tells them exactly where you are, when these bets were made, the
Mhm.
IP address. It tells them everything, and they get it in the instant. Oh, they're giving everybody these spreadsheets. And this actually came. Iowa thing came out what, about 4 or 5 months ago. But this
Right.
is this is the first time that actually you know, came out with the details. They just said there was a situation at Iowa and Iowa State. Now we
Right.
know that they were gambling on their own teams. So that's just uh, a horrible thing to deal with, a horrible thing to go through. But at the end of the day, you brought all this on yourself. And
Yep.
And
the fact that you use your parents' name, you knew it wasn't right, but you
Mhm.
used your parents' name. So you can't say, "Oh, it was a mistake." You knew this wasn't right.
right.
Go ahead, D.
And just like with the hazing, this is also going to have widespread implications. We've already seen it happening in the NFL, and
Mhm.
let's not be naive to believe that this is only happening at Iowa and Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, this is a warning to all the other folks. But it's always going to be those people out there say, "Oh, they ain't gonna catch me. I'm gonna do."
Mhm. They'll never
It's
catch me.
always, it's always going to be that. But this is going to have widespread implications as well. This is not the end of this. We're going to hear more and more of these stories start to come out at these different colleges and so on and so forth with these kids and gambling. It's just going to happen.
The fact that the different sports leagues and colleges are now in bed with the gambling industry is
DraftKings,
just going to make it even worse for the actual
Stickier.
student athletes and the players in the different leagues, because
yeah,
now it's in your face every day, all over the
Mhm.
place. They got on some of them, they got the symbols on the jersey, the logos on their
yeah,
jerseys.
the advertising, yeah.
They're advertising, all of this. So you have no choice. Well, let me just go on and see
Yeah.
what it's like. You
The
know,
forbidden fruit.
um,
The forbidden fruit is all around you, even on
exactly,
your shirt.
exactly.
Right.
And temptation kills everybody. Temptation kills everybody. So the fact that oh, so another player. I'm sorry, ESPN. Another player has filed suit on the Northwestern hazing thing from 2005.
Mm.
2005, 2008. Again, I got an issue with that, but that's okay. That's okay. Um, but it's a lot of stuff going on with college sports. We got the hazing thing, and now we got the gambling thing. But let's get to
Stay
the NFL.
stay tuned.
Let's get to the NFL because you're right, D. Because it's just the beginning, man. It's just the beginning. For those of you to continue to watch our podcast, we'll be talking about every instance that come out. Just to let you know. Um, Other thing, this is like one of the best times of the season, and that's because now the lull is about to be over. We always had a lull after basketball until football season. We got like 33 days until the kickoff of actual NFL football. Everybody should be clapping about that. Um, but in order to get to that, in order to get to that first game, we had to get to the training camps, and training camps began this past week. A lot of teams uh, welcome new players, and then there's some teams that are missing some players. Dory, holla at me about but the players that's missing.
What you mean, Dallas Cowboy fan? Tell us about your player that's missing.
Yeah, you got the main one.
Oh, look at here. Look, I told y'all about him. Um, I don't have a problem with him missing camp. Dang, I'm going brain dead.
Zach Martin.
Zach Martin. I don't have a problem with Zach missing training camp. None at all. He's trying to get his money. The money is well deserved. Jerry Jones, you better bust out that checkbook and pay this man. I don't have a problem with 1%. However, bruh, listen. And Swagoo was on ESPN the other day, and he said the exact same thing I said a couple of weeks ago. And that's, Jerry, you better get this done. You got to get this done. If Zach Martin is probably the most important player that we have on this team, and that includes Dak Prescott. That includes my cornerback, whose name escaped me. Y'all know I'm horrible with names. Everybody. Zach Martin is the most important because he controls that offensive line. He's the one that makes all the calls, and he is by far one of the best offensive guards to ever play the position. So you got to pay this man because right now he's like 10th or 15th in pay scale. So Zach, he's doing the right thing by sitting out, but bruh, come game time, you better have your ass out there getting ready to play. Because if you don't, I'm coming down to Dallas, I'm finding you, and I'm gonna hit you in the kneecap like Monica. What's her name? Not Monica Lewinsky. What's her name? Oh, y'all know Tanya Harding. Like Tanya Harding.
From Monica Lewinsky to Tanya Harding.
I hope you don't do him like Monica Lewinsky.
Anybody doing the Monica Lewinsky? We ain't doing no Monica Lewinsky.
What's her name? Monica Lewinsky. Then he said, "Oh, Tanya Harding." Bro, them two totally. Them names ain't even close to.
Hey.
I'm crying. Where's my towel?
Man,
but I'm busting the kneecaps.
He said, "But do him like Monica Lewinsky."
Y'all just dirty, man.
And I'm thinking, I hope you don't do him like Monica
Y'all
Lewinsky.
just dirty. You know what I was talking about. But anyway, Zach has to be Zach. But I really need him in camp like soon because the theme of today's show is chemistry. With him not being there, it's messing up the chemistry of the offensive line. And right now, we have a new play caller. Calling the plays. The head coach is calling the plays right now. Dak is coming off 15 interceptions from last year. So the continuity has to be better with this team. So you really need him there in order to gain that continuity. But you gotta pay him. You gotta pay him. I can't fault him for not being there because he needs to be paid. You have to pay this man. But tell me about some other people. We'll talk about the Cowboys later. Dory?
Well, no, I think that the running back issue again comes up. I found it interesting that Josh Jacobs is not in camp, but Saquon Barkley showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We still got, the holdouts. We got Chris Jones, from the Kansas City Chiefs that's still holding out. Quinnen Williams, that's holding out with the Jets. But I really think that as far as the high-profile names are concerned, it's really just Zach Martin and the running backs. The fact that Dalvin Cook is still looking for a spot, even though he showed up the Jets camp or whatever, but Dalvin Cook is still looking for a spot. Josh Jacobs is holding out. And or are they really? Can you really consider Josh Jacobs a holdout? Is he just not under contract?
He's not under contract. He doesn't have a contract.
He just hasn't come in to sign the franchise tag. So I think it's interesting that Saquon showed up to sign the franchise tag, and he's going to go ahead and play. But Josh Jacobs is still holding out. I wonder how that situation is going to kind of play out. But that's all I can really think about right now is really these running backs that are the issue.
I think the issue with Josh is, he's trying to make a point that y'all need me. He's going to be there when the season starts because he's not going to, at the end of the day, it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do your team any good for you to miss that money. Right. So he's going to be there, but he's not going to be in training camp. He has to show you by his absence that he's not, first off, he's not happy. And second, that you actually need him.
Now, one of the things that he probably also wants to negotiate is, I'll come back, I'll sign this franchise tag, but I don't want you to, we're gonna make an agreement that you're not gonna franchise me again next year, and let me go ahead and get on the open market, because that's the big thing, especially with him and with Saquon. Had they been on the open market, they may have gotten a nice contract, because then you had other teams trying to compete to sign you. Although I can't say that with 100% certainty, because Dalvin Cook is like as good, if not better, than both of them, and he's still on the sideline. Like you said, D, he was at Jets camp this past weekend, and everybody and their mama said the Jets don't sign him. Well, what happened? Here it is Wednesday, and they still ain't signed him. He's going. Matter of fact, he said just yesterday that Miami was a dream situation.
Yep,
so which
he
means
needs to come on down.
Which means that he's trying to get some people to bid for him. So you got two people. If you got two teams bidding against each other, you're gonna get a contract.
I heard that Miami actually offered him something.
Oh, they did?
Well, from what I heard on the radio, that they actually, where he was saying that Miami actually came out, or somebody came out and said that they actually offered him something. It just wasn't what he wanted. They offered him like $4 million.
Okay.
I mean, $4 million. That ain't nothing to sneeze at as far as I'm concerned. But I can understand,
for him.
I understand, where they're coming from. Why you wouldn't want $4 million when the franchise tag is 10.5 million, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and plus he was supposed to make 12 this year.
Right. So that's what I heard. That's why I heard that he went to Jets camp. It was this idea of, okay, I'm gonna go to camp here. I'm gonna go up to the camp. I'm gonna meet some folks. I'm gonna, kiss some babies. I'm a politic, and then hopefully Miami will come back with some more money. That was the report that I was hearing, that Miami did actually make him an offer. It just wasn't what he wanted, and that's why he showed up at Jets camp.
I got you. And that's bad that you got to go out there and kiss babies to get a contract, knowing that, and everybody in the league knows that you're one of the top 5 running backs in the league. They know that. They just, for whatever reason, they just don't want to pay you.
And I still will never understand that, because there is not even all of these folks, and I've heard people try to justify why running backs aren't getting paid this much. I think, even though I love him, I think my man RC actually tried to talk about why running backs weren't getting paid and that kind of thing. But I have not heard a coach say that all they're going to do is come out and throw the ball
and pass the ball. Mm-hmm.
They all say we have to establish the running game first. And then we establish the running game, and then off of the running game, we get the play action, and then we are able to establish the passing game based off of our success in the running game.
And it's always been that way.
Always been that way. It's still that way. I mean, your team, Rodney, what did Mike McCarthy say he wanted to do? Even though he was going to be the player to call, he wanted to run the ball. When you get down to the end of the game and you want the clock to keep running, what do? You run the ball. So why are they trying to act like running backs aren't valuable is I find very interesting. I mean, yeah, of course, there has to be somebody at the bottom of the totem pole, but I don't see why it has to be the running backs the way that they're doing this, because there's not a team that's ever been around that doesn't find their running backs valuable. Yeah, they feel like they can do this by committee or whatever, but to act like the running back is not a value position, I think is very disingenuous.
And then we're talking about some of the best running backs. We're acting like they aren't valuable.
Right.
So you ask the running back to run between the tackles, right? To run up into them big 300-pound linemen. You ask them to run to the outside to run against 6'4", 245-pound linebackers. And then you ask them to block when they're blitzing, right?
And catch
you want to touch the ball.
You want them to catch the ball too. You want them to be able to come out.
Exactly. So you ask them to do like 5 different things, but then you don't want to pay them for doing
the least
half of one thing that they do. So it doesn't make sense. It's one of those things you feel for them, but there's really nothing that they can do. You know, there's really nothing they can do. For whatever reason, the NFL is colluding against the running backs,
Yeah.
and I won't understand it. And it makes no sense, but that's what they're doing. You even had the Colts owner weighing in because he doesn't want to pay his running back.
Man,
Go ahead, D.
with Jim Irsay, I know this might be old and he might be, maybe he's changed his life around. But all I keep thinking about every time Jim Irsay starts talking is I think about Mr. McDowell. Son, if you want to continue to work here, stay off the drugs.
Stay off the
That's every time Jim Irsay opens his mouth. That's the first thing. I'm sorry, but that's the first thing I think about is that he been somewhere getting him some sips in, because that's how he sounds, and he sounds crazy. That for him to come out and say that, and this will actually segue into something else, right? For him to actually come out and make those comments made no sense to me. They were nonsensical comments, and then they were really something that he really could have kept to himself. Because now all you've done is you've now angered the running back. And then this is the thing about Jonathan Taylor. When dudes, as you talked about, we talking about some of the best running backs, not just running backs in general. Jonathan Taylor was in what did he come in the MVP voting?
like second or third, something like that.
So how you gonna now try to talk about, oh well, if he's out of the league, nobody's gonna remember him anymore, dude? This cat was almost won the MVP.
But hold up, D. And they kept talking about the running backs they run him into the ground. They over the hit. He only 24. He's 24 years old. He ain't even made it to his prime yet.
Right.
So,
man. So
and the fact that he came in as a second round draft pick next year is the end of his contract. But he's going to have the same issues. They're going to tag him. They're not going to pay him. He's going to be fighting for his, trying to get a long term contract, and it's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, that's the bad state of affairs in the NFL. But we still love it.
Yep, and we still gonna watch. It just gives
We're
us
gonna watch it. We're gonna watch. Just give us something to fuss about. Matter of fact, the first game is tomorrow. The Hall of Fame game is tomorrow night.
Yep.
Who is it? The Jets or somebody? I don't know who you playing.
Let's see.
The Jets will play. Let's see scores. The Jets will play Cleveland. The Jets will play Cleveland tomorrow night. So
Cleveland,
this is for you.
Y'all know how I feel about the Browns. I just can't say it on the air.
Don't say it.
There's a rhyme with Muck.
As we used to say, peace, one finger down.
All right, but other NFL news. Oh, go ahead,
speaking of people and stupid comments. Let's go to Sean Payton, and then that will actually somebody else who came out with a stupid comment after Sean Payton. We'll be able to segue into him too. Okay. Sean Payton talked about the Denver Broncos coaching staff from last year. How it was a horrible coaching job. So the worst coaching job ever. He dogged them all.
NFL history. Worst coaching job in NFL history.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Worst coaching job in NFL history. Sometimes you need to just shut up. This is one of those times, right? There was no reason for him to say that. Again, nobody necessarily said that what he was saying wasn't true. I haven't heard anybody who has criticized Sean Payton say that what he said wasn't true. But what they said is that as an NFL coach, you shouldn't criticize the outgoing administration like that. So basically, he kind of like presidents do, right? They never criticize the outgoing president. George W. always talked about how he never criticized. Well, exactly. Yeah. He came in and broke the mold. But prior to that, they all talked about how they would never come in and criticize the previous administration. They tried to get George W. Bush to do it. He would not do it. I saw him on Sean Hannity's show who was trying to get him to do it, and he refused to do it. This is the same thing in the NFL, right? But now all of a sudden, here comes Sean Payton. Now, my thing about this is not necessarily the comments in themselves. It's the fact that everybody criticized the comments, but now they will not let it go. Everybody keeps saying he shouldn't have said this. He should have just but nobody will let it die. And that's one of the things that I hate about the media. Is y'all criticize him for saying it, but now all y'all want to do is continue to talk about it.
Keep running with it. Yeah.
Keep running with it. You know, they'll sit up and talk about how the NFL is bland. Oh, well, you know, the coaches never say anything. They never say anything. They never give us anything. But then when they do give you something, then you criticize it. I don't understand it, the hypocrisy of it all.
So the thing is, I understand what he was trying to say. It's one of those things where you have a point that you want to put out there, but when you actually speak the words, you speak the wrong words. And so I understand what he was saying. Basically, what he was trying to do was let his team know that you much better. This is a much better team than people think. That you the stuff that happened last year was an aberration. We've changed, we've addressed some things, we've changed some things, and you're going to be a much better team than you were last year. So he just said that it all been good, but to attack the other coach, yeah, that took it a little far. But the thing about it, that 24-hour news cycle, you know, especially right now where there's really not a whole lot of sports stuff going on, you know, when you get something, you got to run with it. And they kept running with it, and they kept running with it, and they kept running with it, to where now everybody got to respond. So first you talk to, you come with Sean Payton said it. Then you got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had to come out and defend his coach. And then the the now infamous keep my coach's mouth out of your name out of your mouth. Right? So
keep my coach's mouth out of what?
Shut up, dude. Shut up, dude.
This is a freaky show.
So
we getting spicy on this show.
Hey, y'all wrong, man. Y'all wrong. Anyway, so you gotta get Aaron Rodgers' take on it. So then after Aaron Rodgers say something, then you gotta go back to Peyton and say, hey, look, this is what Aaron Rodgers said. So Peyton gives his quote unquote apology, but never apologizing statement. So then you gotta take his quote unquote apology, but never apologize to what's the coach's name?
Nathaniel Hackett.
The Hackett. You got to take his statement to Hackett and say, hey, this is what he said, but he never really apologized to you. So then Hackett say, you don't say that about coaches and, blah, 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 blah. So that all this back and forth, but there's nothing else going on. So what else they going to do? You got to have something for these sports talk shows to talk about, and that's what they're using. And every one of them, that's all they talked about.
Yes.
It's either that or now is who's your top five? No, what's your starting lineup? And I'm tired of that too. Everybody coming out with their starting lineup. They talk about that. So, but with Peyton, like I said, it was a stupid comment. He never should have said that. At the end of the day, he's a part of a fraternity, right? He's in the coaching fraternity, and you don't go against your fraternity brothers, right? You can just say, yeah, they struggled last year, but we got some stuff in place now. We hopefully. We'll do a whole lot. The team will do a whole lot better. But you don't go out and dog the folks from the previous line. You just don't.
Yeah.
So speaking of Rodgers,
man,
Rodgers did. Do you gonna knock it off? Our boy Aaron did the biggest troll job ever to his previous team. Aaron Rodgers took the contract that he had. He makes $1 million this year, but next year he's going to make like $105 million on a 1-year contract.
So the Packers were never going to be able to do that. That's the reason why they traded him, because Rodgers wasn't going to change their contract. So they trade him to the Jets, and what does he do? He negotiates a new contract. But not only does he negotiate a new contract, he does some Mbappe stuff and leaves $35 million on the
On the
table.
table.
So, Doran, on that D?
First of all, I get so tired of these culture vultures. That whole keep my coach's name out your mouth. Stop. So now you want to quote Will Smith or whatever.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's all he was trying to do. Dude, stop acting tough.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's tough on the internet, though, bro. Everybody's tough on the internet.
No, I'm just saying. Secondly, with this whole contract thing, I think it was definitely a piece OFD to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it also shows, on a serious tip, I think what it also shows is that he's planning to be in New York more than just this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea was, okay, well, if I give up this money again, now it's a little bit different from Mbappe. He left 35 million. Mbappe left 776 million.
776. Go ahead.
Right. But I think it was the idea that, okay, I'm going to be here longer than this year. So here, let me leave some money so y'all can get some more players to come in here so that we can try to put together something and win something. Yeah, we're good this year. Hopefully we can be good this year, but we can be better in the future. So I think that this is really saying, by him signing this new contract that, hey, I'm willing to do whatever is necessary to get us some better players so that we can continue to get better, because I'm going to be here for more than just this year. Because I think they were very afraid that he was only going to be there for this 1 year. But I think this shows that he's going to stick around.
So, being serious about it, I think that it shows that Rodgers really wants to get that ring. He understands one thing that you can't say about Rodgers, that he doesn't understand about legacy, and he knows that for him to be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, he's gonna need more than one championship. What's the boy? Wow, Mahomes has two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about he's already one of the greatest quarterbacks ever.
Right,
So
and he's only been playing 6 years?
6 years. So for Rodgers, who's been there 18 years or whatever, for him to only have one championship and however many years he's been there, even though he has all the stats and by skill level, most people will put him in the top 5 quarterbacks ever. But he don't have the hardware. He doesn't have the hardware though. So, and what differentiates the greatest of the greats from the great ones is championships. Unfortunately, you have to use that as a barometer. Same thing with basketball. What to me, what separates Jordan from everybody else is the fact that he's the greatest player that I've ever seen. Plus, he got 6 championships, and he's 6-0.
And 6 MVPs when he won them championships. Right.
So those are the things that put, like, as I said, there's the Hall of Fame, and then there's the upper room of the Hall of Fame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for Rodgers to get to that upper room, he needs to have more than one Super Bowl title, and I think that's by him leaving that money. He's allowing his team to continue to build around him. That's why I thought they were going to go ahead and sign Dalvin Cook this past weekend, because they had the money to sign him, but they didn't. That's a different story. They could have given him $8 million, and he would have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but Rodgers gave them the flexibility to go ahead and add more players, or to give those contract extensions to some other players and not have to worry about him having this super high contract. Now, mind you, he's still making $35 million a year. He gave up 35, yes, but he's still making 35 guaranteed for the next 2 years. So I don't think that he gave up the bag and he he still don't have a bag. The brother got money. So, even though as much as I don't like Aaron Rodgers, because he did beat my boys, but that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, you don't like a lot of people then.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a whole lot of quarterbacks out there I don't like.
You should
A
hate
whole lot
that.
of quarterbacks I don't like.
Why you still like that then?
Because he's a Cowboy. Now, once he no longer a Cowboy, he gonna be on my list. He gonna be high on my list. Just like Tony Romo. Once Tony Romo was gone, he high on the list.
And it's funny when you talk about the idea of rings, because we've talked about whether rings make a great player or so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting because this is an argument that I made a few years ago when people will always say that Aaron Rodgers was the greatest quarterback that they'd ever seen. And I remember you and I, Rodney, had this conversation before, and I was saying, everybody want to compare him, say he the greatest. I said, but he got just as many Super Bowl rings as Russell Wilson. They both been to the same number of Super Bowls. They both won one, they both lost one. At the time, this might have changed. I think Russell Wilson had a better quarterback rating and all kinds of other stuff over the career.
I lost. Okay, there you go.
Okay, it had a better quarterback rating. It was something or completion percentage or something, and I was comparing them. And then you and I went to Lambeau Field to see Green Bay play, and I was sitting there, and they beat my beloved Bengals. It was a good game, actually.
It was a great game. It was a great game.
I got to give a shout out to the Green Bay fans. They weren't mean like the Raider fans were with me and my dad. Went to the Bengals Raiders game out here a long time ago. RIP, shout out to my dad, of course. But really, I got to give a shout out to Green Bay. That's the best game atmosphere. I've been to a lot of games in a lot of places. Green Bay was the best game atmosphere that I've ever been around. Better than Kansas City that I've been to a number of times. That atmosphere, me and Rodney had a great time in Green Bay.
Those benches were horrible.
Yeah, they were hard, and they were hard. They were terrible. But the game itself, the atmosphere was great. And let me just say that after that, I had to say, yeah, he's all that. That dude is a monster, man. On the field, I can't explain how good he is. And I see why people say from a skill point of view that he's the greatest they've ever seen. I've never seen a cat on the run throw pinpoint passes the way he was throwing pinpoint passes. It was just crazy how you never in that time, because the Bengals were winning that game.
They were winning. But they had the game won.
Nobody in that stadium felt like they were going to lose that game because they had Aaron Rodgers. And he showed up and showed out. And I couldn't do nothing but say, hey, man, this dude is all that in a bag of snacks. I was like, man, he
tip your hat to him.
Man, you had to. You got to. He is everything that is advertised on the field. But I agree with, but I say that to say, Rod, I completely agree with you that if he wants to be considered what they say he is, he got to win more. And I really, to be honest with you, I think he's got to win more than just one more. I don't think Tua. I don't think Tua do it, because think about who else has two, and who has more than that. So I think if he wants to really be considered on that Brady level.
Which is where he wants to be.
That's where he wants
to be.
And I'm not saying he's got to win 6, because that's not going to happen. He's not going to stick around that long. But he's got to have at least 3 Super Bowls under his belt. He's got to have at least 3 rings, because even with 2, he's still under Montana. He's still under Terry Bradshaw. He's still tied with Peyton Manning. No, Peyton got 3, don't he?
No, Peyton got 2. He won one in Indy and one in
they lost that year. Yeah, so he's still there with Peyton Manning. He's still there with Eli Manning, even at 2. So he's got to win 3 to get into that.
Troy Aikman got 3. Troy Aikman got 3.
Oh my God!
Be quiet. Shut up.
You gonna mute me? Come on now, y'all know.
Yeah,
but yeah, he has to submit that legacy. He has to have more than that one championship. I would elevate him with 2, but D said
D say 3 is necessary, and I won't argue that either. Um, uh, but on to our now we get into our basketball conversations. We've
Switching.
been waiting for a long time.
Well, we have
Waiting,
kind of have
waiting a long
women's.
time.
Can I? Or I get well real quick before we get to basketball. Let's
Go ahead.
just because I just wanted to mention this real quickly. Is that make sure you're watching the Women's World Cup. The U.S. Women's National Team made it to the knockout round. I hate the
Barely, man.
I hate the fact that people have been kind of dogging them, talking about they played
Yeah.
uninspired, they weren't playing well. It's amazing how people think that just because you're the favorite that you're supposed to blow everybody out and nobody's supposed to get close to you. But they made it to the knockout round. They are still the favorites to win the World Cup. So if the games aren't coming on at 4:00 in the morning, if you get a chance, watch the Women's World Cup. Because I do think that the U.S. women are going to be able to pull it out. They are really that good. But when
Going
you're
for the
that
three,
good,
going for the 3.
when you're that good, the target is on you and everybody is coming at you. So I think that was kind of the issue. Plus, they're kind of young too. But they made it to the knockout round, and that's what's important at this particular point in time. So
the thing about it, again, that's a great point. This team is different from the last World Cup team. They're a lot younger. So a lot of the players they have right now, they haven't been through this. So
Right.
it's going to take a little time for them to get themselves going. And when you are the favorite, you have to make sure that you give everything every game because the other team is. They know that you're supposed to win, so they're going to give everything that they have. And when you don't, they still have the talent to go ahead and win. However, when you don't perform like people think you perform, you're right, D. Fans will turn on you in a minute.
Right.
They'll turn on you in a hot second.
Right.
So shout out to them. But who the fans are not turning on is the Vegas Aces because they are now 24-2.
24-2.
24-2. They've already clinched the playoff spot.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be real. I think 2 of the next 10 games they play against the New York Liberty. So that's going to be real interesting.
Yeah.
The Liberty may be one of the biggest competitors to them. Someone that might be a roadblock for them when it comes to winning back-to-back championships. But the Aces are rolling, man. They are rolling.
And the thing about it too is that now I find it very interesting that now the idea of the super team has now become cliche, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though they vilified it in the NBA, they are really kind of using it in the WNBA in terms of talking about the super teams. They consider the Aces a super team, right? Because they got Candace Parker and Chelsea Gray and Plum and Asia Wilson, and they're considering the Liberty to be also be a super team because they've got Ionescu and they've got Breonna Stewart and Vandersloot that came from Chicago who won the championship last year, right? But one thing I notice about the WNBA is that the WNBA is really extremely top heavy. So the number 1 team right now in the WNBA are the Aces at 24-2. The number 2 team is the Liberty at 20-6. The number 3 team is the Sun at 19-7. Right? After those 3 teams, there's nobody that has over 14 wins in the WNBA. The winning percentage, basically all the other teams are either at or below 500 in the WNBA. So I wonder if they're going to, criticize these super teams the way that they criticize them in the NBA, right? In talking about, these big threes and so on and so forth, because it is really, to me, having a major effect in the WNBA, much more of an effect than it had in the NBA. Because if you're looking at these teams and you see how top heavy the WNBA is, the 2 teams that they refer to as being the super teams are the two best teams, and they have the best records by far
Mm-hmm.
over everyone else. So let's see what the WNBA does about this whole idea of super teams in the future. Because again, I think it's affecting big time
Parity.
in the WNBA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that's happening in WNBA, I just saw this. I just want to throw it out here. Is Brittany Griner? Brittany Griner has taken a leave from her team to focus on her mental health, which to me, I would have preferred her not to play this year because basically, a couple weeks after she got back, from being in a Russian prison, she's right back in camp playing basketball. She hasn't had time to get her mental self together. Man, that's rough. She's in prison, not knowing if she was ever gonna see anybody back on this side of the water again. So for and then everybody's put it right back out there. Put it right back out there. Sometimes especially as black folks, we don't like to get help for our issues. We figure, we gonna find our way through this. Nah, man, we need help, man. She needs some help because no one can relate to what she's gone through amongst her peers. So who's gonna help her? Who's gonna talk her through all the stuff, all the feelings that she has, and then to have her just go out there and start playing basketball, and you can see that she really wasn't into playing basketball. She did it because she can do it, but she didn't have the same type of drive that she had prior to this situation. So I'm actually, I ain't gonna say I'm glad, but I'm thankful that she's actually getting some help, the needed help at this particular time. And take as much time as you need. Basketball gonna be there next year if that's what you so choose to do. But get your mind right, man. Because if you don't have your mind right, man, hey, we want you to live, a nice life outside of basketball.
Right.
That's what we want. Yes, you're a great basketball player, and we love watching you play, but that's not all you are.
Right.
So we want to give all of our support to Brittany.
Yeah, some things are more important in sports.
Yeah. As much as we love sports, there are some things that are more important, and this is one of them.
Right.
This is one of them. So however long it takes you. So speaking from a person who's lost a family member, and Dee's lost a close personal friend from having some mental issues, some things going on in their lives that they didn't want to talk about. We would have loved to have been there for them, but we weren't able to do that. So speaking with someone that has gone through that, look, if you need whatever you need to give us a call. we'll come help you. Whatever you need, that's what you need. Whoever you need to call, get all the help that you need. Because again, you're way more important to this world than just a basketball player. So that's just my little soapbox for the day. I get off of that one.
Totally agree with you, brother. Totally agree with you.
I get off of that one. But what we are going to talk about more basketball, and this is like one of the most exciting basketball competitions that we have out there, other than of course the NBA. But it's the TBT, and to those who know, it's the basketball tournament. Although we have the TBT when there's the basketball tournament.
Right. Right.
So it is what it is. But the TBT, the basketball tournament is a tournament where teams compete. It's like 64 teams that compete to win. It's a winner take all for $1 million. And right now they're in the semifinals. And while we're recording this podcast, who was it? It was the Green Machine. Hold on, what is it? Hold on.
Bleed Green beat
Bleed
Friday.
Green.
on the Elam ending. Oh, I love the Elam ending. Did you see it?
D, I saw it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Tell the people what the Elam ending is, D.
I don't know. I can't explain it. So you go ahead.
All right, I'll explain it. The Elam ending, what it is. So the teams play a normal basketball game. You play 4 quarters, right? But with the Elam ending, what they do is you play 3 quarters in the first 4 minutes of because their quarters are like 8 minutes. But you play 3 quarters, and then the first 4 minutes of the 4th quarter. At the 4-minute mark, who's ever winning, they take that score, they add 8 to it, and that's the target score. So each team has to get that target score in order to win. For example, let's say the score is 60-62. So 62 is the highest score. So they'll add 8 points to that, which makes 70. So now both teams, whoever gets to 70 first is the team that wins. Today's game, and that game that D was just talking about, the target score was 68. And Bleed Green was down. Was it 66-65 or something like that? And hit a 3 to score 68 and won the game. Now they're in the finals. So they have the opportunity to go against who's the other team that won?
Heartfire.
So Bleed Green.
You know who the coach of Heartfire is, don't you?
Who's the coach?
Who's that?
LaFonso. Fonz is the coach. LaFonso Ellis. Yeah, he's the coach of Heartfire. Yeah.
Oh, shout out to the Boogie.
Yeah. More people from the Boogie. So that means we rooting for Heartfire. Because LaFonso Ellis is the head coach. Although at first I was rooting for the Nasty Daddy, of course.
Now I'm gonna have to root for him. But the TBT is a very it's different than what we're used to seeing because of the Elam ending. But that Elam ending is so just
it cuts out all the fouling that happens at the end.
Yes, it does.
Especially in the close game.
But what do you get? One shot on a free throw at the end of the game or something like that.
Now the game has to end on a made basket.
No, I'm saying they give you on the free throw you get one shot or something like that. Whatever the case was, but it's so exciting.
Yeah,
it's so exciting. But plus the fact that it's winner take all. Say again.
You know what's also interesting about the TBT that I didn't know because I kept wondering how it is that they chose the teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's open. Anybody could get a team. So just think, years ago we could have been playing for $1 million. I think we could have won a couple of games in the TBT.
The family team ain't never lost.
Yeah,
we won.
I think we could have won a couple of games. We might not have been able to get to $1 million, but we would have gave it the old Mission College try.
Hey, back in that day, man, they got a punch to the groin because we was going in. Can't do it now.
How did that come out?
Anyway. Y'all got issues, man. Y'all got issues. Come on, man.
You start talking about punching people in the groin.
I thought we was playing basketball.
Hey, that's what we did in the 90s, man. In the 90s, bro, you got to earn them baskets. You got to earn them. Ain't nothing free. Speaking of what ain't free, Dame Dollar ain't free for the Heat. The NBA
free from the Trailblazers.
the NBA gave Dame a letter this week. Well, not just to Dame. I'm sorry. Let me correct that. The NBA put out a letter this week to all of the players, but we all know who it was intended for. It was intended for Damian Lillard.
Yeah, that's
where they stated any player that has a contract can't dictate who they gonna go play for. And if you get traded, you gotta go to that team.
You have to honor that contract.
You gotta honor that contract. And this all came out because Lillard's representatives made it a point to tell all the teams that were interested in Dame that Miami is the place that he wants to be,
and you shouldn't trade for him because if you trade for him, he's gonna be unhappy. And you don't want an unhappy player on your team, and he may not play for you. So NBA, they don't want to hear all that stuff. They don't want to. They don't want the agents basically controlling anything.
Yeah.
So they made it a point to put this information out there, although it was already out there, and everybody knows this. If you get traded, other than James Harden, he's still
and
requesting
the fat suit.
Yeah, he's requesting a trade also. So and he's saying, well, he only want to go to the Clippers. Now, why he want to go to the Clippers, I don't know. But hey, but the issue with the ultimatum, good idea, bad idea, dudes.
I feel like it's definitely a bad idea, especially in the case of these two guys, because like you said, they both just signed a contract. A contract is a binding agreement. So, I mean, why wouldn't you honor your contract? And then if you really don't want to be there so bad, then don't sign the contract. But what it is, that money is so important, they didn't want to leave any money on the table. They signed the contract. But you're signing the contract stating that, you're going to play for this team for X amount of money. Okay, so honor your contract.
So,
I mean, both of them could have, Dame could have left, what was it, a couple years ago?
Last 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He had
He didn't have to sign an extension. He didn't have to sign an
extension. He could have left. And, Harden, same deal. He didn't have to sign an extension this year,
Yeah.
If leaving is what he really wanted to do, but obviously the money was more important. So, hey, so be it.
So here's my issue, and I'm with you. Once you sign that contract, you're obligated to whatever team that you sign that contract with. Case in point, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown just signed. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the next thing.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and
Just let
do
it
that.
flow. Let it flow. Just let it flow.
Jaylen Brown just signed a 5-year, $305 million contract extension with Boston. Now, if Jaylen Brown decides he don't want to play for Boston no more, then so be it. If he comes in and requests a trade, okay. But in my opinion, if you come in and request a trade, I should be able to void your contract. I should be able to void your contract and then trade you. Yeah. So you only have that 1-year contract because it's not really. The only reason he got $305 million is because he got that Supermax contract. Mm-hmm. Had he been a free agent, he could only sign for 4 years and a lot lower than the $305 million that he signed for.
But the other part to that, Rod, why should I have to honor my end of the contract if you're not willing to honor your end?
So now where the hypocrisy comes in that is I can trade your contract. So it's a slippery slope with that. So same thing. If you trade me, you need to give me some kind of incentive for you trading me because I have to uproot my whole family. We have to move to Utah or wherever in the middle of the season because you decided to trade me. So it on one hand, it's not me saying that, I need you, I want to void your contract. That's just a fan being frustrated. But at the same time, if a team can trade you, it needs to be some kind of incentive also. It needs to be a deterrent on both sides because you got this no trade clause. Now, the thing is, to satisfy both sides, do you restrict, now each player can only sign a 3-year contract versus a 5-year contract or not guarantee the contracts? The Players Association is not going to like that because they want these big, huge contracts.
Exactly.
Right? But at the same time, you're making your product when players dictate the flow of the team, you mess up everything. It messes up everything for everybody.
Yeah, everything is all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, when a player can just come in, James Harden can come in and say, "I want my $40 million. I'm gonna make sure you give me my $40 million, but I don't want to play for you." No, you had the option to leave, right? You decided to stay. I ain't trading you nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go say, then the thing is, if you just if Philly decides not to trade James Harden, so now all the agents gonna say, well, don't go to Philly because they're not gonna do this, that, and the other, and make Philly out to be the bad guy. When they ain't the one that said, I want to trade James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the same thing with Portland. Everybody wants to fuss at Portland for not accepting what it is, the trade offer that Miami Heat have out there, right?
Yeah,
Portland feels that Damian Lillard is a much better asset on my team than what it is that you're offering me. So I'm not just gonna give him to you because that's what you want and that's what he wants.
for Tyler Hero.
Exactly. Not that Tyler Hero is a bad player, but he doesn't fit the team that we have right now. I got a Tyler Hero on my team already that I'm paying. I don't want Tyler Hero just because that's all you got. You know? So but since we talked about Jaylen Brown, there's other players out there that either are in line for a new contract extension or about to be a free agent or should have a contract extension. So I'm gonna throw out some names for y'all. Y'all tell me if they should,
Yeah or nay?
if they should get a contract or should not. And the first one, we're gonna do the up or down.
We got
the first one.
Gotta keep it even for right now.
Keep it even. All right, the first one is Mr. Load Management himself, and that's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is due. He's contract is up next year. Oh, y'all already said no.
Yeah, what a sound effect for the Pac-Man.
The milk's gone bad. The milk's gone bad.
I mean, think about it. Those guys been there for what, 5 years now? 5 years. That's crazy.
But this is the funny part, dudes. He's been there 5 years and hadn't even played 82 games yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the crazy part. All right. His teammate, Paul George, is also doing contract extension next year.
Can I make this louder?
Should non-playoff Pete get a contract extension? Okay. From the Chicago Bulls, you have DeMar DeRozan, whose contract is up at the end of the season. Should DeMar DeRozan get a contract extension? They both say yes. Yeah, I agree with DeRozan. DeRozan is a very good. Well, let me say. I'm gonna do this for a second. It depends on the number with DeRozan.
Yeah.
If he's talking, I want a 5-year contract. Because he's already like 34 years old.
Yeah.
5-year max contract, I can't do that. If you come with a 3-year contract, that's I'm paying you a nice amount, but it ain't the max. Then I got you.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent player, but
strictly based on his age, really, and that's it. Who else we got? We got Jason Tatum. Is he deserving of that supermax contract that Boston already gave to Jaylen Brown?
Well, now you got to give it to him now after Brown.
I was just about to say that you got to give it to him, and then he the homeboy, So
oh yeah, and then also
free from the other side of the water, he's still he's still the homeboy. So yeah, give him the back.
We also have to factor in the the new NBA TV contract that's upcoming too. So that's probably why all these contracts are skyrocketing like that.
It's gonna be. Just think about this for a second. I think Michael Jordan in his whole career only made like $90 million in salary. Yeah. And that's because he got $60 million the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, yeah.
Right? So, but here it is. Jaylen Brown is on his second contract extension. He made well over $150 million. And now you got another $300 million coming.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast. It changed.
The nature of the beast.
It's more money.
If Jordan played nowadays, he'd be making $100 million a year.
He'd be making it. Was it? What would we say? 776.
Right, the super, right,
776.
776 million. Jordan would get the super duper max.
They're gonna have to create a new contract for him.
Right. You got anybody? Who else?
So now here you go. Last one. Not talking max contract, but should he get a contract extension? And that's Klay Thompson, who's due an extension next year. No Klay.
I like Klay, but I mean it depends on how much we talking.
Let's say 3 years, 90 million. D says no. Now, mind you just gave Draymond 4 years, 100 million.
In Golden State, I would say yeah, but now if he went to any other team, no.
If I'm gonna give Draymond 4 years, 100 million. If we only talking a 3-year contract, then I'm giving Klay 3 years. Maybe I'll give him 3 years at 80, or 3 years, 3 years 75. I'm not giving you 30 million a year.
Yeah, I would have gave Draymond that contract.
Yeah,
I didn't think Draymond's, but hey, I can't fault the brother for getting his contract, getting his money.
Yeah, I mean, if they're paying him based on his past production from the past, I guess I don't know, but what I saw the last couple of years, and then in particular that year when Steph and Klay was hurt, and he averaged what Barkley said, a single,
a triple single,
triple single.
No, a triple single. Yeah, no, there's no way possible. No.
I guess they say he's a great defensive player.
He ain't that great.
No, not anymore.
Well, the thing,
not for the 100 million.
Here's the thing. I talk about I talk about the pest all the time because I don't really like him. But Draymond is living off reputation also.
Yeah, I feel he is. Yeah.
Draymond, he was a great defensive player like 3-4 years ago. I don't see him being this great defensive player right now. But again, if Golden State gave him that 4-year, $100 million contract, hey,
more
congratulations, bro. Congratulations. My Knicks ain't gonna give it to you. But anyway, that's the last one I can think about. That needs a contract extension. But let me tell you who did get a contract extension. Shout out to EJ Liddell.
From the crib.
EJ, baby, EJ. EJ got a contract extension with the New Orleans Pelicans. And it's actually due to the fact that he's worked his butt off to recover from that ACL tear. So shout out to EJ for overcoming like he did.
Big Eric, get well.
We want you to ball out. Plus the fact that he was a second-round draft pick. He was a second-round draft pick, came in and tore his knee up, worked his butt off, and was balling and deserved that contract. So shout out to Eric, EJ. We're gonna be watching New Orleans games just for you.
Oh yeah. I gotta get an EJ's jersey too.
Gotta get an EJ jersey. Just we're gonna have it behind dudes with it. Where you got the Boston jersey.
Gotta get it.
You have to put the EJ jersey back there. So congrats, EJ. Nothing but love from the brothers here at Blame It on the Boogie. Matter of fact, we're gonna have to catch up with you and put you on this podcast.
That's right. Shout out to mom and dad.
Right, no doubt.
Great job.
So, well, fellas, we've had another wonderful episode. We talked about a lot. We talked about boxing. We talked about the layoffs at ESPN. We talked about D's favorite new sport, and that's the Women's Professional Football League. We talked about the GOAT and Katie Ledecky. We talked a little baseball with the trades and the non-trades of Shohei. We talked about the $776 million man. We talked about the issues that go on in Northwestern. That's still going on. That was a good conversation. We talked about the NCAA and its the realignment about all these conference teams and the hypocrisy of the conferences going for the money while they fussing at the players for going for it. We talked about something that's an issue that's going to be even a bigger issue. We're predicting in the not too distant future. That's the gambling in not only just NCAA sports, but sports in general, since they're all getting in bed with the gambling business. We talked about NFL training camps and the stupidity of Sean Payton and Aaron Rodgers taking a pay cut and thumping his nose at the Green Bay Packers. We talked about the U.S. women's national team and their attempt to get 3 straight World Cups, something that has never been done. We talked about the Las Vegas Aces, how they're rolling at 24-2. We talked about the TBT and how these brothers are all fighting for this $1 million winner take all tournament. And then we got to the NBA where we talked about Dame Dollar. We talked about who's deserving and who's not deserving of contract extensions. And last but not least, we talked about our boy EJ Liddell getting his contract extension. It's all about the money, man. All about the money. So we want to thank each and every one of you for watching us, for continuing to watch us, for being on our side, supporting us with all that you do. On behalf of D Double, on behalf of the Wonder Mouse, I am Rod D. We hope you liked what we had to say, but if you didn't, kiss it. And we out.
Don't blame it on sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. I don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. Sunshine, sunshine, moonlight, moonlight, good times. Blame it on the boogie. Sunshine, sunshine, moonlight, moonlight. Boogie's got me in a super trance. Sunshine, moonlight, yeah. Good times, boogie. You just got that sunshine, yeah. Moonlight, good times, good times.